Here we are, part 5. The final chapter of the most chaotic situationship in Forks. Edward's ready to make a choice, Bella's reached her breaking point, and everything they've avoided finally hits them. Get ready for breakthroughs, heartbreaks, and one last twist. BPOV. Shit, 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 I mutter. Where is the goddamned corkscrew? While I rummage through the utensil drawer with one hand, I use the other to pick up a long-handled wooden spoon and stir the pasta cooking on top of the stove. After tapping the spoon on the side of the pot, I set it down and immediately pick up the spoon beside it to stir the sauce simmering on the next burner. Come on, I mumble, sparing a glance at the clock. They'll be here in 20 minutes and I need wine. I leave the spoon in the sauce and turn my full attention to the drawer. Aha! Picking up the corkscrew, I hold it lovingly to my chest and then move to the adjacent counter to open the Cabernet. It's just Mama and Big Daddy, I whisper to myself, pulling the tiny knife down to slice through the foil cap on the bottle. While I twist the metal spiral into the cork, I whisper the words again, H. Hoping my mantra is successful in calming my nerves. I repeat the refrain over and over as I hook the notch onto the lip of the bottle and pull the handle, sighing in relief as the cork begins to slide up. And then it stops. Damn it. This is why I have my boys. But none of my boys are here. Frustrated but determined, I pick up the bottle and wedge it between my legs, gripping it tightly with my thighs. It's just Mama and Big. I grunt lowly as I grasp the neck of the bottle with one hand, pulling the handle of the corkscrew with the other, Daddy. Finally, the cork comes loose with a soft pop. Laughing lightly in relief, I put the bottle back on the counter and twist the cork off the spiral. After pouring myself a generous glass of the dark, red wine, I take 2 quick sips, and then drain the pasta. I take another long swallow, and then toss the pasta with the spicy vodka sauce I made. Finally, I lean back against the counter and fan my warm face with a potholder as I finish off the liquid in my glass. Once I catch my breath, I pour another half glass, and then call Edward. Hi, Stell, he chuckles. Hanging in there. You made it 15 minutes between phone calls this time. Don't laugh at me, Ned, I warn him. Frowning even though he can't see me. This will be you tomorrow night. Sorry, he apologizes, but I can tell he's still quietly snickering. I wish you were going to be here tonight, I whine. What time does your flight arrive tomorrow? Around 4, he replies. And you'll be here at 6. I ask for the 3rd time today. Yes, baby, he says, Hi's velvet voice calming me until he continues. Unless the plane is late. Edward, I say, hearing a note of hysteria creep into my voice. Mama Whitlock does not allow guests to be late for dinner. He laughs loudly this time. Assuming I'm joking. I'm so not joking. What if there's bad weather? What if the pilot is drunk? What do you expect me to do? Fly the plane myself? Yes, I exclaim. Oh, good. My voice is high-pitched and screechy. The panic is on full display. Baby, why are you so freaked out? He asks, his voice quiet and concerned. You've told me again and again that these people love you like a daughter. They do love me, Edward, I say, whining again. But I want them to love you, too. That's true, but it really doesn't account for the swarm of crazy butterflies fluttering in my stomach right now. I've struggled all afternoon to understand why the arrival of 2 people I love like parents has sent me into such a tailspin. Bella, I'll be there, he says soothingly. Quote, and I'll do everything I can to make them like me, okay? Promise. Impeccable manners and semi-asshole charm on full display. I ask as my lips curl into a smirk. I promise. Finally, I take a deep breath and smile into the phone. Okay, I say as I glance at the clock on the stove. I gotta go. Jas will be here from the airport any minute. Call me in the morning. Sure, it'll have to be early your time, he cautions. I have a 9 o'clock meeting. Never mind, I reply, laughing. Text me instead. I will. Bye, Stell. I love you, he says quietly. Love you, too, I answer, feeling more composed as I set my phone down until I hear a car outside. They're here. Picking up my forgotten, half-full wineglass, I chug it, and then set it in the sink. It's just Mama and Big Daddy. It's just Mama and Big Daddy. I repeat the words as I walk through my living room. Plastering a wide smile on my face, I open the front door in time to see Big Daddy climb out of the passenger seat. I wave to him and watch Jas open the back door on his side for Mama to get out, but I'm surprised to see someone emerging from the other side of the backseat. I gasp excitedly as I realize who it is. There she is, my future wife, Joey says, his eyes shining as he looks at me. Get your ass over here, sugar. Laughing hard, I bend forward at the waist for a moment, and then skip down the porch steps toward them. Big Daddy waits at the end of the sidewalk, smiling at me and removing his black cowboy hat as I approach. Well, if you aren't a sight for sore eyes. How's the prettiest girl west of the Rio Grande? He says. I don't know how she is, but I'm fine, Big Daddy, I answer as I wrap my arms around his shoulders. Behind him, Jas is helping Mama out of the car. The sight of her makes me nervous all over again. So I squeeze my eyes shut. I'm so sorry I didn't call. Now, hush, he replies quietly, pulling back slightly. Reluctantly, I open my eyes and let them settle on his face, so similar to Jasper's despite the difference in years. You know I'm not the one with the ruffled feathers. But Mama's been having a hissy fit and steppin' in it for 2 weeks waitin' for you two to call. Her nose is so far out of joint that if she took a deep breath through it, air would come a whistlin' out her ears. We both laugh until we hear Mama's stern order. William Whitlock, let that girl go. I want to see her. She's really angry. Huh, I whisper soberly. He pats my back a little harder than necessary before he releases me, nudging me toward her. Don't you worry, you just lay that natural sweetness of yours on extra thick, and she'll be over it in 2 shakes. Hi, Mama, I say, looking down at the ground. She hugs me tightly, like always. I'm really sorry. Of course you are. Remorse almost always follows reprimand. She says bluntly, but her tone is nicer than it was when she spoke to Big Daddy. She rears back to look at me, her hands cupping the sides of my face. You look happy. I am, I smile. You smell like a wino, she states flatly. Did you drink the whole bottle or is there enough for me to have a glass, too? I just had a little, Mama, I laugh. There's plenty left. Let's go in then. She smiles, looping her arm through mine as we walk toward the house. I declare, Bella, you'll catch your death running around out here without a coat. She clucks her tea-ong at me while I mumble another apology. She helps me finish dinner while the men take the luggage upstairs. Just as we're setting food on the table, I hear the sound of boots on the hardwood floor and turn to see Joey walking in. I haven't had a proper greeting from the hostess, he teases. Hey, Joey, I didn't know you were coming, I say, hugging him, and then laughing when he dips me backward over his arm. I decided to surprise you and my baby brother. Now, where's the jackass who made you go 12 rounds with the punching bag at Thanksgiving? He asks as he pulls me back up. New York. You'll meet him tomorrow, I answer. Then I stage whisper the next part. Plus, Mama requested that there not be any outsiders here tonight. I think she's gonna yell at your brother and me. Sugar, Mama doesn't need to yell. He stage whispers back. She can put you on the ground with a raised eyebrow and her pinky. We both laugh and Joey pats my lower back and kisses the top of my head. Watch your hands, Joey. Jasper teases as he walks in. Nowadays I'm not the only one who'll clock you for inappropriate ass touching. There's nothing inappropriate about the way I would touch her ass, Joey argues conceitedly. I'm an expert fondler. Rolling my eyes, I pull away and step around him to get the bottle of wine from the counter. You've never even tried to fondle me, inappropriately or otherwise. I say as I set the bottle on the table. I'm not sure if I should be flattered or insulted. Bella, Joey drawls seriously, but his hazel eyes are shining with mischief. I would never insult you. You're my favorite future wife. How many of us are there? I tease, straight-faced. You're the only one that matters, he replies, winking at me. Joseph Wesley Whitlock, are you going to flirt with Bella all night or may we eat now? Mama asks exasperatedly. But when I turn to look at her, she's smiling. Why do I have to stop flirting in order to eat supper, Mama? He asks, pulling out a chair for her to sit in. Some of my best work has been done at the table or on it. Jesus, Joey, Jasper groans, waiting until Mama and I are seated before dropping into the chair next to me. Way to ruin my fucking appetite. That's enough, boys, Big Daddy says firmly, silencing them as he sits down at the head of the table. Let's say grace. After we join hands and bow our heads, Big Daddy says the blessing, giving thanks for the food and family at the table. Without raising my head, I lift my eyes and stealthily look at the people around me. They're my true family. Though I love my dad, and deep down, I love my mom, too, we never had the fun, the teasing, the closeness. The fear of punishment. Wait, punishment. It suddenly dawns on me that I'm not only nervous foe. Are them to like Ned, I'm also afraid I'm in big trouble with them. And I've never really been in much trouble with my parents before. My mom either ignored me or didn't care when I misbehaved. My dad as the freaking chief of police in the town where I spent my teen years, and I was consequently left out of most activities that could get me in trouble. My high school friends didn't drink or smoke anything except cigarettes. And my boyfriend was a nice guy. I even got good grades. The worst thing I did while I lived at home was talk snottily to my dad, and I rarely did that. So I'd never been rounded, never had more than a lecture from my dad. And I'm a little terrified about what's in store for me after dinner. This feels like the calm before the storm. When everyone says, Amen, and looks up, I smile at Mama, who's sitting directly across from me, trying to gauge her mood. She smiles back, looking warmly at me for now. Blank, _ blank. Over the next hour, why to relax as we sit at the table eating and talking. Joey catches Jas up on all the latest news about their high school buddies. Big Daddy fills us in on the drought and the cattle. Mama brags about the grandkids. As we're eating our dessert, Mama looks across the table at me and smiles slightly. Bella, you know that William and I love you and think of you just like one of our own. No disrespect to your parents, she begins. Yes, Mama, I love you, too, I reply, smiling back at her. She nods her approval before her mouth settles into a grim line. Joey, I need my handbag. I jotted down a few things during the plane ride, she says, turning to look at him. I pick up my fork and drag it through the icing on the half-eaten piece of cake in front of me, then lift it to my mouth. While I'm still licking the chocolate frosting off the tines, Mama takes a small notebook out of her purse. After flipping it open, she sets a pencil down beside it and then slides her reading glasses on. Uh-oh, Jas whispers from beside me. She's serious if she's wearing her specs. We're gonna need more than cake. He reaches for the wine to refill my glass and then gets up, walking to the liquor cabinet, and returning with a bottle of whiskey and 3 glasses. He pours a little in each glass, then slides one to Big Daddy and one to Joey. He keeps the third and lifts it in the air. Mama, here's to your table of terror. Please go easy on Bella. She's a virgin. We all touch glasses and drink. Big Daddy winks and smiles affectionately at me as he sets his glass down. Mama's busy reading through her notebook. How many times has she made you cry during one of these interrogations? Joey asks, looking at Jasper. Crying. There's going to be crying. My stomach flops nervously. I glance at Mama, see her frown, and quickly look away. More times than I'd care to admit, Jas answers dryly. Wonder who cried the most. Jeremy. Hands down, Joey answers. He was the first to figure out that tears of repentance were the fastest route out of Mama's doghouse. Across from me, Mama is smirking, but she quickly recovers, looking serious again and clearing her throat to recapture our attention. Bella, would you like to tell us about your trip to Jeremy and Scott's? She asks the question genially, but there's no mistaking her meaning. It's not a question. It's a directive. Eager to please her, eager for her to like Edward. I recount the first few days of my trip, my night with Brady, the mysterious phone call Jer received, the sudden realization in front of Kelly's bar that Edward had come to see me. Mighty romantic gesture. Big Daddy interjects, smiling at me. Boy's got to be in love with her, Joey adds, winking when I mouth my thanks to him. Well, of course he's in love with her. Mama declares. Who wouldn't fall in love with her? My idiot baby brother, Joey says with a laugh. Jas and I laugh, too, as we exchange a look. We're too good as friends to screw it up with romance and sex, Jas remarks, extending his arm around the back of my chair. Right, baby swan, right, I agree. After taking a sip of my wine, I continue my tale. Edward asked to speak to me and Jer, and Scott wouldn't let me run away. So, we sat down and started talking, and that's when he told me that he wasn't engaged to. You thought he was engaged? Mama interrupts, picking up her pencil. Oh, shit, Jas mumbles beside me as Mama writes in her notebook. Unnerved by Jasper's comment, I whip my head to the right to look at him as he shifts his hand from the back of my chair to my shoulder, rubbing reassuringly. When he looks at me, the uncertain half-smile on his face does nothing to quell my runaway panic. Swallowing loudly, I turn back to Mama, still bent over her paper. Well, yes, but, I answer hesitantly. Why did you think he was engaged? She asks without glancing up. They, announced it at the, Hale Software Christmas party, but it was, I stammer. Jasper, Mama interrupts again. Stilling her pencil and fixing her stare on Jas, did you know that this boy was engaged? And you still sent him to Bella? I lift my glass and swallow steadily until half the wine is gone. Mama, it's not the way it sounds. It's complicated and, Jas explains. It wasn't, he didn't. I defend, interrupting Jas. Then Mama lifts both hands, palms out. We both fall silent immediately. Hush, both of you. Quit trying to rationalize his actions, she commands. Then she shifts as if she's deciding something. I'd rather hear the explanation from the horse's mouth, thank you. We stay quiet as Mama writes in her notebook again. The only sounds are the quiet scratching of her pencil on the paper and the sound of more whiskey and wine being poured for the rest of us. What else happened in Key West, Bella? Joey asks a minute later, smiling encouragingly at me. I tell them how Edward and I talked, spent time together, and eventually reconciled. For good measure, I toss in some comments about how helpful Jer and Scott were in pushing me along, and how much they both liked Edward. I see a flicker of pleasure cross Mama's face before she settles back into her stone-faced countenance. You're in love with this boy, despite the fact that he broke your heart? She asks. I am, Mama, I say, breathing through the quick slice of pain I feel when I remember the ways we hurt each other. I made mistakes, too. She nods knowingly, and even though she's not smiling, her eyes are warmer when they meet mine. So you've been too distracted by this boy to call me back? Despite the fact that I've left no less than 4 voice messages on your phone? She asks, quirking one eyebrow at me. Basically, yes, I reply, exhaling in relief when that seems to satisfy her. What does your father think of this boy? She asks offhandedly. But I'm not fooled. Nothing Mama Whitlock says is really offhand. He doesn't really talk about his feelings, I hedge, not wanting to. Tell her that Charlie hasn't completely forgiven Ned yet. He liked Edward very much when they met last fall. Mama HMMS and lifts one eyebrow, but doesn't press me on that issue. She pauses to take a bite of her cake as she reads through her notes again, plunging us into silence once more. I bite my lip nervously. Big Daddy swirls the whiskey in his glass. Jasper and Joey mouth insults to each other and try not to laugh out loud. Well, I guess that about does it for you, Bella, she pronounces, smiling at me. However, tomorrow night, I will expect to hear about how he ended up engaged to someone else. Once I agree, she shifts her attention and piercing gaze to Jasper. I slump back in my chair, finally relaxing as Jas begins his description of how he and Alice met. Jasper is an expert at handling his mama, and talks himself out of trouble fairly quickly. His inquisition doesn't last nearly as long as mine, and ends with him promising that Alice and Riley will be here to meet them tomorrow night. Then, like the suck-up he is, he pulls out his phone, where he just happens to have about 100 pictures of a really cute 5-year-old. Mama is disarmed immediately. Jesus, where we these pictures when I was on the hot seat? When we get up a few minutes later, Mama shoos the boys out of the kitchen. If we do the dishes now, we can make them clean up tomorrow night, shish. E whispers conspiratorially to me once they're gone. She chatters non-stop as we clean up, her feathers apparently smoothed back down for the moment. On the other hand, I'm still a wreck. But Mama does, and T appear to notice that I'm barely responding to her. My comments are monosyllabic, and I only chuckle half-heartedly at her funny stories. After I've dried and put away the last pot, I turn and find her watching me. Studying me quizzically. All right, sweet pea. Spit it out, she says, draping a dish towel over her shoulder after she wipes her hands. You're as nervous as a $2 whore in church. What's the matter? I shuffle my feet. But when Mama huffs at me, I know I'm not going to get out of answering. I'm scared about tomorrow night, I admit reluctantly. I think you'll like Edward, but I'm afraid you're going to be mean to him. Mean to him, she gasps, pressing a hand to her chest. Was I mean to you this evening? No, I say slowly, dragging the word out. The boys were talking earlier about how many times you made them cry at your table of terror. She laughs a little before pulling me to the table to sit down. Sweet pea, I have 5 sons, none of whom I'd trade for anything. But as teenagers, those boys engaged in so much tomfoolery that half the folks in Grayson County still won't speak to me, she explains. Yes, I occasionally sat them down and yelled at them. If, perchance, one of them cried during that process, then that was a side bonus. Mama, I exclaim, but I can't help laughing a little. Someday when you have teenagers of your own, you'll understand. She manages to say through her own laughter. When we both settle down, she reaches for my hand. I don't expect to make Edward cry tomorrow night, but if you think he's too much of a coward to answer for his behavior, then I'll leave it alone. She raises her eyebrow at me daringly. He's not a coward. Good, Mama nods. Then he'll have no problem talking to me, she pronounces. I nod, too, but look down at my hands, picking at my fingernails. Bella, she says, waiting until I look up at her to continue. I just want to talk to him, look in his eyes and see that he loves you. You have my word that I will not make it too unpleasant. All right, I agree, taking a deep breath. I really am sorry that I ignored you. Now, you're forgiven, she answers frankly, reaching for my hand. Families are all about unconditional love. And you, love, our family. Tears spring to my eyes immediately, and she leans forward to hug me, murmuring soothing phrases like, hush, now, and, Mama's here. When I'm calmer, it occurs to me that I've called her Mama since the first time I met her almost 6 years ago, but tonight is the first time that I've really wished she was my mother. I've never had anything even close to this kind of a relationship with Renee. Pulling back from her embrace, I wipe my cheeks and smile at her. This is becoming a habit of mine, crying in the kitchen with you. I remark sardonically. Well, let's break that habit right now, she declares. She takes the towel down from her shoulder, smoothing it out and folding it in front of us. Then she leans toward me with the same gleam in her eyes that her sons get when they're up to something. Jeremy wouldn't let Scott tell me about the night he and Edward got drunk in Key West. How about filling me in? By the time I get in bed 2 hours later after telling the story twice because the men heard us laughing in the kitchen and came to see what was so funny, I'm feeling much better. When I get to my room, I pull my phone from my pocket, eager to see if Edward sent me a text. I felt my phone vibrate several hours ago, but didn't dare check while sitting at Mama's table, well, Jasper's table. But everyone knows if Mama's sitting at it, it's her table. And she detests anyone checking messages on cell phones in her presence. Smiling, I sink down on the bed to read what Edward wrote. It's short, it's sweet. I send a reply so he'll see it when he wakes up. Miss you, too. I love you, Ned. Blank, underscore, blank. When the doorbell rings a little after 5 the next evening, I frown. It's too early for Edward to arrive. Jasper just left to pick up Alice and Riley, so it's not them. No one else is invited tonight. I peek into the living room as the doorbell sounds again. But Joey and Big Daddy aren't sitting on the couch where they were a few minutes ago. It's rude to leave a visitor standing outside in the rain, Sweet Pea, Mama chides without turning away from the stove where she's cooking my favorite dinner, fried chicken. You'd best answer the door. Yes, ma'am, I say, setting down the knife I was using to peel potatoes. Anxious to stay on her good side, I rush through the living room. As I approach the door, I peek through the window. I can't see who's standing at the door, but I recognize the truck parked at the curb and yank the door open excitedly. Dad, what are you doing here? Mrs. Whitlock asked me to dinner, he replies as I wrap my arms around his waist. He hugs me back, kissing the side of my head, not letting go. Until I pull away and let him enter the house. You look good, Bella. Nice to see that big smile on your face again. Why didn't you tell me you were coming? I ask, ignoring his commentary on my sadness during the holidays. Mrs. Whitlock suggested I surprise you, he answers, removing his coat. Narrowing my eyes, I reach for his jacket and walk to the closet to hang it up. I just bet that Mama suggested he surprise me. She's stacking the deck in her favor tonight. Where is Edward? That boy and I have some things to get straight. He'll be here soon, Dad, I answer, turning to face him. Quote, but you and Mama Whitlock are absolutely not going to gang up on him. My dad's grin is quick and his brown eyes shine as he answers me. Don't get so testy. I didn't bring my gun inside yet. He laughs as I glare at him. When Jasper arrives a few minutes later with Alice and Riley, the rest of the Whitlocks reappear to meet them. Although Alice seems nervous at first, she calms down quickly, and by the time she makes her first smartass remark to Joey, I can see that Mama likes her. Of course, Riley charms everyone, and has Joey and my dad talked into playing Candyland within a few minutes. At 6:01, the doorbell rings again. This time, I race for the door. I got it, I call, pausing briefly to look at Joey and my dad who are sitting on the couch, still playing games with Riley. Behave, both of you. When I open the door, I jump into Edward's arms, causing him to grunt and stumble back a step, apparently unprepared for my enthusiastic greeting. He chuckles quietly. Hi, Stell. His voice is quiet as he speaks into my ear. Ned, I sigh, inhaling his scent. I missed you. I missed you, too, baby, he says, wrapping his arms a little more tightly around my back. I'm so sorry, I whisper, rearing back to look at him. Sorry for what? He asks, puzzled. Hello, Edward, my dad says from behind me. Edward's eyes leave mine immediately and shoot to my father. Mr. Swan Chief Swan Charlie, he says as he sets me down roughly, hardly pausing to make sure I'm steady on my feet before he steps away from me. I didn't know you were coming tonight. Neither did I mutter, glaring at my dad. Couldn't pass up the opportunity to see everyone, Charlie asserts, stepping farther onto the porch to shake Edward's extended hand. After a minute of their small talk, I turn to my dad. Dad, could Edward and I have a minute? We haven't seen each other all week, I plead. He stalls a little longer, but finally acquiesces, stepping back inside and shutting the door. Standing in the middle of the porch, I wrap my arms around Ned's neck again and mumble into his chest, they're gonna be mean to us. Look at me, Edward orders quietly, placing his hands lightly on my hips. Waiting until I look up at him before he says any more. It's okay. I love you and that's not going to change just because I'm going to face some tough questions from the Whitlocks and your dad. We'll get through it, I ask. I know the answer, but I want reassurance. We will, he confirms, then finally leans down. Digging one hand into the back of his hair, I press my lips against his impatiently. Kissing him several times and then sliding my tongue along his bottom lip. But instead of responding, he pulls away and opens his eyes. Stell, I can't make out with you when your dad is right on the other side of that door. I chuckle as I look up at him, dropping my arms from around his neck. Yeah, probably not the best idea, I agree. My dad never leaves home without his gun. After I hear him swallow, I laugh harder and open the door, pulling him inside behind me. Blank, underscore, blank. Just like last night, Mama is pleasant all through dinner until dessert. How do you find the pie, Edward? She asks sweetly. It's delicious, he replies with his mouth full as I instructed. At Mama's table, guests are allowed to disregard polite table manners if they're complimenting her cooking. She smiles widely at him, but I notice that she's no longer eating her pie. Joey, I need my handbag, she says, positioning her reading glasses, which had been hanging from a chain around her neck, on the end of her nose. Jasper, you may as well fetch the whiskey now. As Joey hands Mama her purse, Jasper whispers something to him from his other side. Joey nods, then immediately turns to Riley. Hey, Riley, he drawls. You promised to play the Wii with me after dinner, remember? Yeah, she answers excitedly, getting down from her chair. Jasper's Wii is in he basement and he has a bunch of good games. But my mommy says I can't play Call of Duty anymore, and you're not allowed to cuss in front of me. But you can say moron, cuz Jasper says it's okay as long as it's true. Got it. Joey laughs as he follows Riley to the door leading downstairs. Jasper was playing Call of Duty with her. Edward whispers, looking at me and frowning. No, I scoff. Quote, Emmett was playing Call of Duty with her. And calling people morons. I think that's what Jasper was calling Emmett when he found out what they were playing in the basement, I say, trying not to laugh. Mama clears her throat to get our attention. All right, Edward, she begins. I've got a few things to ask you. To his credit, Edward doesn't flinch under Mama's unyielding gaze, and he doesn't take more than a sip of the whiskey Jas pours for him. He answers every question she asks, looking apologetically at Alice a couple of times when he talks about Jamie. Why didn't you go to the police, son? My dad asks after Edward tells them about the pictures of Alice, Riley and me that Jamie sent. I did eventually, but I didn't have any proof at first, Charlie. If I had gone to the police then, James would have known I was coming after him. I wasn't sure what he would do and I wasn't willing to risk it, Edward explains. I felt like I didn't have any choice except to make myself his target. He explains the plan he carried out early last fall, detailing the way he pulled away from his family and from me to keep Jamie's focus on himself. Even though I know what Edward did and understand why he did it. Hearing him talk so frankly about it ties my stomach in knots. Sliding my chair closer to his, I put my arm around him and rub his back gently. Mama isn't taking notes anymore. She's listening intently to Edward, clucking her tongue about some of the things James said and did, and I see tears well in her eyes more than once. Before Edward has a chance to explain about the fake engagement, the doorbell rings. As I start to stand, Jasper does, too. I'll get it, baby swan, he says. It's probably Emmett and Rosalie. He said they might stop by to see Mama and Big Daddy. I sit back down and turn toward Edward. Rosalie's in town again. Yeah, she flew in this afternoon with me, he says. Sighing heavily, I roll my eyes and lean back in my chair, crossing my arms over my chest. He looks over at me. His brow slightly furrowed. I thought she was growing on you. Yeah, like a freaking fungus spreading into every corner of my life. I'm trying, Edward, I whisper sharply. Just as Jasper comes back into the kitchen, followed by Emmett and Rosalie. When Rosalie says hi to me, I force myself to reply with a smile. I don't huff when Mama prods me to get up and Serve pie to the new guests or when Mama insists they sit down and Rosalie is in my chair right next to my boyfriend. Emmett takes Joey's empty seat, leaving Riley's chair for me. Irritated, I'm barely listening as Mama quizzes Rosalie, subjecting her to several questions about how she and Emmett met. Looking down at my fingers in my lap, I successfully keep myself from making faces when Rosalie, i.e. giggles about seeing Emmett again in the Hale Software boardroom. He looked like he'd seen a ghost when I walked into the room. And then when I introduced myself, he practically curled into a fetal position, she says. That's true. Emmett agrees with a laugh. But that's because I knew you were engaged to Edward. Pardon me, Mama interjects, surprise evident in her tone. Edward hadn't told Mama that part of his story yet. Rosalie, you are the coworker Edward was engaged to. They were never engaged, I grumble, sparing a glance at Mama before looking down again. Why do I have to keep pointing that out to everyone? Emmett chuckles quietly beside me, but reaches over to squeeze my shoulder gently. He keeps his arm around me as Rosalie talks, and I look up and smile supportively at Edward. Rosalie backs up his story down to the smallest detail, which seems to satisfy Mama, but a quick peek at my dad tells me he's got something to say. Edward, you found it easy to break things off with Bella in favor of this false relationship with Rosalie, he says. If the situation was too dangerous for Bella, why wasn't it too dangerous for Rosalie? It was, Charlie. I told Rosalie from the beginning that I'd understand if she didn't want to be involved, Edward replies, his honest green gaze meeting my father's skeptical brown one. And there was nothing easy about being away from Bella. Yet you succeeded in staying away from her. You even announced your engagement while she was in the room, Charlie says gruffly. I slide my narrowed eyes to Jasper, who has the decency to look sheepishly back at me, silently confirming that he's the big mouth who told my dad that little tidbit. I never mentioned the party to Charlie at all. Mr. Swan, Edward was devastated that Bella was at the party. Neither of us knew that my father had invited her, Rosalie insists fervently, drawing my attention and eyes back to her. Rosalie, Edward begins. No, Edward, they're not being fair to you, she declares, turning to look at him. They're acting like you're the bad guy here. That's my girl, Emmett whispers in my ear disgustingly proudly. I never said Edward was the bad guy. It just seems like there might have been a better way to catch this James fellow away where Bella didn't get hurt, my dad says accusingly. Pissed off, I open my mouth to protest, but Rosalie beats me to the punch. Staring icily across the table at my dad. With all due respect, sir, Edward's main concern was that James not get near Bella, or Alice and Riley. His biggest motivation was that they not be hurt, she says. Then pauses to glance at Edward. He's a good man, and he became my friend, which isn't easy because I can be difficult, Edward adds, smirking at her. I was going to say a mean bitch, she retorts. As everyone except me chuckles, she smiles at Emmett before looking at my dad again. Anyway, I don't think a single day went by when he didn't mention Bella. He's crazy about her and you're crazy if you don't see it. To my surprise, when I look at my dad, he's smiling. I see it. Just wanted to make sure my eyes weren't playing tricks on me, he says with a nod. I hope you won't hold it against me, Edward. But she's my daughter. I want to protect her, too. I understand, Charlie, Edward answers. Mama, are you done torturing Rosalie and Edward yet? Jasper asks with a smirk. You gonna ask for ID? You want to see their Costco cards? Talk to their third-grade teachers. Mama is chuckling when she replies that she's finished, and everyone begins talking at once. Jas says something to Edward and they both laugh. When Edward looks my way, I roll my eyes dramatically, but he smiles crookedly at me, then turns to talk to Mama again. Holy shit, I recone. Eyes that look on his face, I think he's infatuated with her. Shaking my head in amusement, I pull myself out from under Emmett's heavy arm and stand up. I pause to ruffle my dad's hair as I walk out of the kitchen, intending to go get Riley and Joey from the basement. Bella, where's the bathroom? Rosalie asks softly from behind me. Oh, I'll show you, I stammer, turning to look at her. As I lead her down the short hall, I know I should say something to her, express some sort of gratitude that she defended Edward to my dad. But I chicken out. Here you go. I turn on the light in the bathroom, smile slightly at her, and walk away. In the basement, Joey sighs in relief when I talk Riley into turning off the Wii. Bella, I beat Joey in bowling and tennis, Riley boasts, slipping her hand into mine as we walk up the stairs. She doesn't even aim, Joey whispers incredulously as I laugh. I have no idea how she kept winning. I wasn't losing on purpose. As we reach the top of the stairs, I see Rosalie coming out of the bathroom. She glances at me, then does a double take when she realizes who's with me. Who are you? Riley asks inquisitively as we approach her. Rosalie's eyes dart to my face. Riley, this is Rosalie. I explain. She's a friend of ours, and she works with Uncle Edward. I'm still not sure I would call Rosalie my friend, but I know how Edward feels about her. She's my friend, too. Riley asks, looking up at me. Yes, I answer. That's not all she is to Riley, but whether or not to explain that is Alice's decision. Hi, Riley, Rosalie says, smiling as she crouches down in front of us. Hi, Riley replies, tilting her head slightly. We have the same hair. She lets go of my hand and reaches forward to touch Rosalie's blonde strands. Yes, we do, Rosalie agrees. And blue eyes, Riley continues. Jasper has blue eyes, too. Just like us. That's right. Rosalie laughs softly. Then, in the way of 5-year-olds, Riley is on to another subject. Bella, guess what? She says excitedly. Looking up at me. Tomorrow is my friend's birthday party and I get to go. And I got her a present and it's lotion with sparkles in it. As she's talking, she takes my hand again and pulls me toward the kitchen. Rosalie stands and looks at me, using her fingers to wipe away the tears leaking from the outside corners of her eyes. Oh, damn it. Tears spring to my eyes, too. First she defends my boyfriend and now she's clearly affected by the kid who occupies a giant spot in my heart. I might as well admit that I'm starting to think Rosalie isn't so bad and I'm irritated as hell about that. Thank you, she whispers as I pass her. Unable to speak around the lump in my throat, I just nod and smile at her. As soon as we get to the kitchen doorway, Riley lets go of my hand to race toward Jasper, hugging him tightly around the neck when he lifts her onto his lap. I walk to the counter and open more wine, then accept with a smile when Rosalie offers to help pour it. When Riley asks for juice, I ask Rosalie to get it and I even return the one-armed hug she gives me. By the time I'm ready to sit down at the table, I realize there are no more empty chairs, but Edward catches my eye, scooting his chair back and crooking his finger at me. Aware of my dad's watchful eye, I shake my head slightly and pull a chair up beside him instead. For almost an hour, we sit around the table, listening as Mama, Big Daddy and my dad tell stories. Riley hops from lap to lap, even stopping for a moment on Rosalie's. She sits on mine the longest knot that I'm keeping track and then moves to Edward's, immediately falling asleep against his shoulder. When everyone gets up to leave a bit later, I notice Mama watching intently as Edward hands Riley off to Jasper. After Jas and Alice leave the room, Mama heads for us. Looks like that little one has you two wrapped around her finger, she remarks, smiling. She does and she knows it, Edward laughs. That's the way it should be, Mama says. Edward, I appreciate you indulging me tonight. I just wanted to be sure about you. And now I am. Thank you, Mrs. Whitlock, he answers. Mama pulls him into a hug, patting him soundly on the back. That's Mama to you, honey. She pulls away to grin at him. Just stay away from Joey. He's a bad influence. With a wink she leaves the kitchen, joining everyone else in the living room. I grab Edward's hand and drag him into the walk-in pantry, pushing him back against the shelves. What's wrong, Stell? He asks, frowning. Absolutely nothing, I say quietly, lifting you. Pee on my tiptoes to wrap my arms around his neck. I just needed a minute alone with you. He holds me tightly until I pull back, shifting one of my hands to his cheek as I look into his eyes. Did I do okay? He smirks, already knowing he expertly diffused Mama's doubts and probably most of my dad's, too. I knew the arrogant semi-asshole was lurking in there somewhere, I mutter, rolling my eyes. Yes, Ned, you did very well. I was an excellent test taker in school, he brags, making me laugh. I press my lips to his for an instant, then tug on his neck until he rests his forehead against mine. Sighing heavily, I whisper, I wish you could stay here tonight. I'd like to take this opportunity to point out that if you had agreed to move in with me 3 weeks ago when I asked, this wouldn't be an issue, he teases. You're not helping, I grouse, but we're both smiling as our lips meet. Marry me, he murmurs in between kisses. My already racing heart pounds harder in my chest, ever. Why beat thundering loudly in my ears as he kisses me again? He's asked me this same question every few days since we returned from Key West, but he knows it's too soon for us to seriously consider taking that step. Still, it's getting more and more difficult to turn him down. No, I answer gently, reluctantly. He pulls back slightly to look at me, his lips curling into a slight smile. Someday you're gonna say yes. He's right. Someday I am. Blank, underscore, blank. When we go into the living room several minutes later, I tell my dad that he can have my bed and I'll sleep on the couch. Bella, that's unnecessary, Edward interjects. Charlie, why don't you sleep at my house? It's not far from here and I have an empty guest room. Once my dad agrees, I tell them I'll come along. My main motivation is to be with Edward, but I'm also a little worried about what my dad will say if he's left unsupervised. You two get married without telling me? Charlie asks gruffly, fixing his deep brown eyes on mine. No, sir, Edward answers for us, smirking as he looks pointedly at me. Huffing loudly, I roll my eyes, and before I really even know what's happening, they've both kissed me goodbye and left together. The only bright spot is that Edward drove my dad, so he doesn't have his gun. Agitated, I go into the kitchen where Mama is loading the dishwasher. I thought the guys were supposed to clean up tonight, I remark as I put away the bottle of whiskey and carry the last couple of glasses to the sink. They did, she says, annoyed. But I never remember that their idea of cleaning up is vastly different than my idea of cleaning up. I'll finish up, Mama, I offer. You can go on to bed. Nonsense. Many hands make light work, she says, turning to smile at me. So tell me, is Edward always that sweet or was that for show? Turning toward her, I smile wryly. That's pretty much him. That's what I thought, she affirms, handing me a plate to put in the dishwasher. I've seen that look on a man's face before at my mama's table. What look? That look like he'll love you just as much when he's disappointed in you as he does when he's proud of you. That look, like he'd pay the sun to come up every morning just because you might be watching, she smiles. Big Daddy, I ask, blinking back tears. Yep, my mama wasn't too keen on him back in the day, she laughs as she hands me more rinsed dishes. Had a sit down with us at her table that would make tonight seem like a walk in the park. But William was respectful, steadfast in his feelings for me, determined to win my mama over. And that's when I knew he was the one. Not coincidentally, that's also the first night I slept with him. Mama, I exclaim, dropping the plate the last few inches into the D.S.H. washer and covering my ears with my hands. I don't want to not you and just know. Oh, for the love of Pete. Mama chides. Why is it that every generation thinks they invented sex? I came of age during the sexual revolution, you know. And I was quite revolutionary if you get my drift. I get it whether I want or not. I need some Pepto. Anyway, she continues, dragging the word out to indicate that she still thinks I'm being ridiculous. Seeing you two with little Riley, I have no doubt that you'll make good parents, too. Have you thought about that? Well, yeah, I admit. More and more I think about it. More and more I know I want it someday. But it's too soon. Take your time, sweet pea, she advises. You don't have to get in a rush. You and Edward should enjoy yourselves for a while first. William and I certainly did. I tell you that man could get me hot and bothered from 100 yards away. All I had to do was see that black cowboy hat in the distance and I was rearin' to go. Mama, I complain, covering my face with my hands. Her arms come around me and she kisses the side of my head. All right, I'll stop, she acquiesces. You better get on up to bed now. We're going sightseeing tomorrow. Edward said I can ride with him. Laughing loudly, I hug her back. I bet he did. I think he has a crush on you, I say. Well, if that's not a feather in my cap, I don't know what is, she replies. Releasing me, but winding her arm through mine as we walk out of the kitchen and toward the stairs. I like him very much, Bella. Me, too, Mama, I agree, turning to smile at her. I like him very much, too. Blank, underscore, blank. Stell. Ned asks quietly as we speed along the highway toward Forks. It's been 6 weeks since Mama and Big Daddy's visit. Edward is driving and I'm reading on my phone. Well, I'm pretending to read on my phone. I can't really concentrate. From the corner of my eye, I see him glance my way. I haven't spoken since 10 minutes before we left Seattle. You know I was kidding, baby, he says for the 20th time. Yep, I agree, still pretending to be engrossed in what I'm reading, which is the dictionary that came with the Kindle app. Your lasagna is way better than Alice's. You know she can't cook for shit, he continues, reaching over to rest a hand just above my knee. I don't pull away, but I don't react in any other way either. If you weren't so damn grouchy in the morning, this wouldn't be an issue. You know I'm grumpy at 7 o'clock in the morning, I spit. You also know I spent hours cooking this surprise birthday lunch for my dad last night. Why would you joke around about it? This is a ridiculous fight, Bella, he says. We've been in the car for an hour of near complete silence. We're not fighting, I correct him in my snottiest tone. Good, I'm not speaking to you, I say haughtily. You just did, he taunts, slowly sliding his hand halfway up my thigh. Shut up, I grumble. Did it again. Stop it. I turn toward the window so he won't see the smile I'm trying to contain. You can't stay mad at me, he says lightly, moving his fingers a little higher, sliding them back and forth slowly. I'm your favorite semi-asshole. You used to be, I say, trying to ignore the warm rush of desire flooding my body. He pulls his hand away, putting it back on the steering wheel. Hey, I complain, reaching for his hand and placing it on my leg again. I'm not done letting you beg for forgiveness. Smirking, I glance over at him. If you forgive me, I'll do whatever you want tonight when we get back. He pronounces, looking quickly at me before returning his eyes to the road. That's not much incentive. You'll do that anyway, I say, then laugh when he grasps the ticklish spot above my knee. Stop, stop. I try to wiggle away but he's got a pretty strong grip on me. Say it. Edward is forgiven, he coaxes. Okay. Edward's forgiven, I concede, giggling a little more and then leaning over against his arm. The past 6 weeks since the Whitlocks went back to Texas have been 6 of the best weeks of my life. Everything is going great with Ned. I see Alice and Riley several times a week. My friendship with Jas has shifted slightly, but we're still close. My friendship with Emmett is surviving his continued romance with Rosalie. And I can admit without rolling my eyes much that she's growing on me in a non-fungal way. I sit up and twist sideways in my seat to talk to him, pointing out things I want him to see, especially as we get close to Forks. I direct him to my dad's house, sighing happily as we park at the curb. Looking out the window at the little, white house, I remember being here for Christmas. At that time, I never imagined that I'd be bringing Ned here 4 months later. When he comes to help me unload the cooler from the backseat, I reach one hand up to his neck and pull him until he bends down to kiss me. Thanks for coming with me, I whisper against his lips. You're welcome, He smiles as I slide the handle of the present over his arm and then hand him the heavy pan of lasagna. I pick up the cake, tea. Hen lead the way up the sidewalk to the front door, key in hand. As I put my key in the lock, Edward questions me. "You're just barging in, aren't you going to knock?" "He's not here." "How do you know?" "My dad has done the same thing every Saturday for as long as I can remember. He fishes, then comes home for lunch and a nap," I explain. "Plus, his truck isn't in the driveway. Maybe it's in the garage," he suggests. "The garage is full of junk," I reply, shaking my head. "I've tried to get him to clean it out for years. He hasn't parked in there since I was 16. The door is sticking, making it difficult to open with one hand. I jiggle the doorknob and put my shoulder against it, finally pushing it open, then smiling when it creaks familiarly on its hinges. I step inside and turn to wait for Edward. "You're sure he's not here?" Edward asks slowly. Just as I'm about to reply, I hear the metal click of a break-action shotgun barrel from upstairs. "Hold it right there. I'm armed." "Dad," I exclaim. "It's me." Turning toward the stairs, I look up to see Charlie coming down, aiming his shotgun at us wearing boxer shorts. "Bella?" he asks, surprised. He lowers the gun immediately. "Edward, hi. What the hell are you two doing here?" "Trying to get ourselves killed apparently," I remark dryly. My dad's face breaks into a grin. "Happy birthday, Dad." "Charlie, is everything okay?" A female voice calls from the upstairs hall. Then I see bare feet at the top of the stairs. As I let my eyes roam upward, I see my dad's robe wrapped around a woman. She's older, pretty, and her hair is a mess. My eyes widen as I realize what we've interrupted. My much quicker boyfriend is already chuckling quietly behind me. "Oh my God," I whisper. My dad clears his throat. As his face turns every shade of red imaginable, finally settling somewhere just south of purple. Bella, I'd like you to meet Kim," he says nervously. "Kim, this is Bella." "Goodness. Hi. Oh, honey, your dad has told me so much about you," she says quickly, reaching up to smooth her unruly hair. Yeah, hi," I stammer. This is my boyfriend, Edward. We brought lunch." After she and Edward exchange hellos, I feel him at my back. "Bella, why don't we take the food into the kitchen?" I nod and guide Ned to the kitchen while my dad and his lady friend head back upstairs. "I swear to God if you laugh about this, I won't speak to you for the rest of the day, Edward Cullen," I whisper testily. "I swear to God I'll try not to laugh at this highly amusing situation, Isabella Swan," he answers. "Why are we calling each other by first and last names?" "I don't know, but don't push me on it," I snap, slamming the cake down on the counter and turning to take the lasagna pan from him. After I set it down, I feel Ned's arms wrap around my waist from behind. "Oh, my God, Ned. Do you think it was this bad for my dad when you answered the door at my apartment on my birthday?" "No, baby," he soothes as I lean my head back against his shoulder. "I think it was worse for Charlie both times." "Hey," I elbow him lightly in the ribs and chuckle despite my queasiness. Slipping my arms under his, I push myself more securely into his embrace, clinging to him as he tightens his grasp. "I should have learned never to surprise anyone, shouldn't I?" I mumble. "It never works out for me." "Stell, you can surprise me anytime," he says quietly, leaning his head against mine. He's never even dated anyone steadily. I guess I thought he was happy alone. Maybe he met someone who changed his mind like I did." He murmurs with his lips against my temple. "Not all change is bad." Turning around in his arms, I look in his eyes and smile slightly. "Don't say sweet things just to make me feel better," I say, twining my arms around his neck. "I'm not. It's the truth," he replies, leaning down to kiss me. When he pulls back, he's smiling and his green eyes are playful. "Besides, if I wanted to make you feel better, I'd ask you to marry me again. You seem to enjoy turning me down." I chuckle twice as I shake my head. "You know it's too soon, Ned," I state. "Give me something here, Stell, he teases. His eyes roving over my face. At least move in with me. Before I can answer him, my dad appears in the doorway behind him. Bella, can I talk to you for a minute in the other room? Sure, Dad, I agree. Pulling away from Edward, we're both a little embarrassed during the conversation that follows in the living room. He apologizes for not telling me about Kim and admits have been seeing each other for 3 months. I apologize for showing up unannounced and not knocking. We avoid eye contact and any mention of my dad pulling a gun on us while dressed only in his underwear. When he proudly tells me that he cleaned out the garage so Kim wouldn't have to park outside if it's raining, I finally look into his eyes. Dad, you look so happy, I say, feeling my own chest lighten with the realization. I am, honey, he agrees, pulling me into a hug when I twist toward him on the couch. I am. With our awkward conversation behind us, I go back to the kitchen and put the lasagna in the oven. Edward and I stay the rest of the day, and so does Kim. When my dad takes Edward to the lake to show him where he usually fishes on Saturday mornings, Kim and I talk, but briefly avoid talking too much about her and my dad. She seems really nice though, and when Edward and I leave soon after dinner, I tell her I hope I'll see her again and I mean it. Blank. When I walk out of the bathroom in my flannel pajama pants and tank top, Edward is sitting up on his side of the bed, waiting. He smiles at me as I climb in on my side, then crawl to him and straddle his lap. I've been waiting impatiently for this all day. He settles his hands on my waist, and then slides them up my sides as I lean forward. I whimper quietly as he cups my breasts. Ned, I whisper as I press my lips lightly against his twice again. Licking across his bottom lip, I let my eyes slide closed and see my dad. Gasping, I pull away from Edward and sit up. What's wrong, baby? He asks, frowning, shaking my head, hoping it erases the disturbing vision in my head of my dad and Kim. I decide to try again. Smiling, I bury my hands in his hair and kiss him again. But as soon as I shut my eyes, it's Charlie. Oh, God, I whisper, scrambling off Ned's lap. Stell, what's going on? He asks quietly as I scoot way over on my own side of the bed. Leaning back against the headboard, I pull my knees up and rest my forehead on them. Every time I close my eyes while we're kissing, I get this horrible picture in my head of my dad and Kim having sex, I confess. Instead of the sympathy I expect from him, he laughs hard. Blindly, I punch with my left arm several times until I hit him. Really? How about Carlisle and Esme? They're shacked up. What do you think they're doing at night? That shuts him up. Gross. Stop it, he says grouchily. Fuck. Now my head is full of old people having sex. Sorry, I mutter. Maybe we should just go to sleep. Good idea, he agrees. Turning off the lamp on his side. I turn mine off, too, and then settle in the bed, moving closer to him. We're facing each other, and after my eyes adjust to the darkness, I can see that he's lying wide awake. Blinking at me. Jesus. They're all probably having sex right now. Knock it off, Ned. I groan. You're making it worse. I start to laugh and can't stop. Edward laughs, too, and it takes us several minutes to calm down. He pulls me into his arms after we say goodnight, but neither of us kisses the other. 3 hours later, I'm awake and staring at my sleeping boyfriend. Smiling at the way he twitches his nose after I lightly trace my finger down the bridge of it. All night, he's slept like a baby while I've been restless, dozing in 20-minute intervals. Filled with vivid dreams mostly of him. Stretching up, I press my lips gently, lingeringly against his forehead, and then slip out of bed, trying not to wake him as I leave the room. Blank. Holding 3 nails in my mouth, I pound the 4th one into the wall softly, well, as softly as you can pound nails. I know I'm being loud, I should be quieter. But I can't sleep, not until he knows. Once the first picture is hung, I move the stepstool to the right and climb up. Then I take the 2nd nail out of my mouth and start hammering it into the next spot I marked on the wall. Stella. Ned asks sleepily from the stairs behind me. Jesus. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. What the hell are you doing? I smile when I hear him scratch his stomach and yawn. Using the hammer in my right hand, I point to the 3 pictures still propped against the wall below me. Mooing these 4 pictures, I answer unclearly, still holding 2 nails between my teeth. I don't give a shit if you move them. But could you do it during the day? I take the nails out of my mouth to reply this time. I couldn't sleep until I knew they'd look okay here, I insist, then look at him over my shoulder. I love these pictures. Turning back toward the wall, I put the nails back in my mouth and resume hammering. It's the truth. They're incredible Ansel Adams prints are God, knowing Edward, originals. They've been hung side by side on the long wall near the kitchen. Now I'm hanging them on a different wall in a square. Why are you moving them if you love them? He asks, bewildered, as I hang the second picture. Because I only have one really good piece of art, and you only have one wall big enough for it. That one, I answer, pointing to the wall where these pictures used to hang. Stooping down, I pick up the pencil and tape measure, then extend the tape along the wall to mark the 2 spots for the lower pictures. He's silent behind me. I wait nervously for him to say something. The man is smart. Even half asleep, he'll get it. Just as I begin hammering the next nail, he interrupts. Stell, will you quit the fucking pounding for a second and talk to me? He asks loudly. I stop and turn around. Are you telling me that you're moving in? You said I could surprise you anytime, so surprise. You're moving in, he asks again as he starts to walk toward me. If you want me to, I answer. I fucking want you. I don't know if he means he wants me to move in or that he wants me. It doesn't really matter to me right now because the way he's stalking across the floor toward me erases every coherent thought in my head. My heart races, my chest rises and falls quickly with each shallow, quick breath. I take 2 steps backward until I feel the wall behind me. I drop the final nail to the floor and let the hammer fall onto the step stool beside me. I love you, I breathe just before Edward reaches me. His darkened eyes answer silently as he crashes his lips to mine, putting his palms on the wall on either side of my head. We move our mouths together frantically, and I wrap my arms around his neck, pulling him closer. I have no sense of time, no idea how long we stand with our lips fused. Our tongues sliding, swirling. It could be 1 minute or 10. When I moan quietly, Ned knows I need more, knows I need him. Gripping my hair with one hand and my shoulder with the other, he pushes his body into mine, pressing me against the wall so that we're chest to chest, hip to hip. Gasping, I pull my mouth away and lean my head on the wall, trying to catch my breath. Edward tugs gently on my hair until I tilt my head that way, giving him more room to kiss down the left side of my neck. He pulls the strap of my tank top aside and sucks gently, then more. Forcefully on the spot where my neck and shoulder meet. Oh God, Ned, I whisper, dropping my arms from around his neck to hang limply at my sides. He continues skimming his lips along my shoulder, my collarbone, and then back to my neck. As he nips gently at my skin, he reaches for my right hand, twisting it until he can slide his fingers between mine. Tightening my fingers around his, I watch, as he raises his head and lifts our joined hands to his mouth. Holding my gaze, he kisses my fingers, then presses our hands against the wall beside my head at the same time he presses his hips against mine. I love you, he says, his voice quiet and raspy. I know, I pant, my chest pushing against his each time I inhale. I want you. His grin is quick, and then gone before he answers, nodding. I know. He bends down to me, brushing his lips across my jaw teasingly before settling his mouth against mine. Weak-kneed, I kiss him back desperately, using my free hand to push his t-shirt up on one side. His dark green eyes pop open to meet mine as he backs up a step and pulls his shirt off. I reach for the hem of my tank top, taking it off quickly, and then gripping his shoulders as he steps toward me again. He lowers his head, kissing across the swell of my breasts as he uses his thumbs to brush across my nipples. When I whimper, he slides his mouth down to cover one breast, sucking strongly. Letting my head rest against the wall behind me, I concentrate on the movement of his mouth, the feeling of his tongue, his teeth, but soon, that's not enough. Sliding my hand down his chest, I reach for the waistband of his boxers. He pulls away before I can touch him, holding my hand. "Come on, baby," he growls, turning to walk toward the stairs. He stops on the first step, letting me go up ahead of him. We're almost to the top when I feel him tug gently on my hand, stopping me as he wraps his other arm around my waist. "Fuck, you're so beautiful," he whispers against my shoulder. I turn in his arms, locking my lips to his. This time when I reach for the waistband of his boxers, he doesn't stop me and I push them down as far as I can reach, then wrap my hand around him. He shoves himself into my hand, groaning quietly as I stroke him several times. Breaking the kiss, I let go of him and push my pants and underwear off, kicking them down the stairs. "Here," he asks. "Here." He wraps his arms around me as we go down, kissing again. Sitting on a step, I lean back as Edward kneels between my legs and thrusts into me. "Oh God, God," I breathe, putting one elbow on the step behind me to steady myself. "Stella," he groans, pressing his open lips to mine. He pulls out, and then plunges back in. He rests his forehead against mine, moving faster, driving into me forcefully. We're both panting when he reaches between us, caressing my clit until I come, crying out and dropping my head back onto the step behind me. Edward holds still inside me, bending forward to kiss across my arched neck while I recover. Still catching my breath, I whimper quietly when he slides his mouth to my chest, trailing his fingers up my leg, arousing me once more. I breathe, moving my hips against his. "Scoot to the top, baby. I don't want to hurt your back," he says quietly, raising up to look at me. On shaky legs, I move up 2 steps, then lie all the way back into the upstairs hall. Edward pulls me till I'm on the very edge of the top step, closing his eyes and sliding into me again. "I can't go slow. Don't want you to," I mumble, watching him, tightening my legs around his hips as he slams into me over and over. I force my heavy eyes to stay open so I can see him, the slight sheen of sweat that appears on his face and neck, the cords of his neck that protrude as he gasps for breath. When his lips fall open and I know he's close, I squeeze my muscles around him. "Fuck Bella," he grunts, thrusting shallowly as he comes and then holding still all the way inside me. With a loud exhale, he collapses forward onto me, resting his head between my breasts. Smiling, I bury one hand in his hair, sliding my fingers through the damp strands. Catching our breath, we lie still, and mostly still for several minutes before he speaks. "Are you serious? You'll move in," he whispers. "I'm serious," I answer. "But I'm paying half the mortgage." He lifts his head to look at me. "Baby, I don't have a mortgage." "Figures," I mutter disgustedly. He smiles and lays his head down again, facing the opposite direction now. "I'm not mooching off of you." "Okay," he agrees, much more easily than I thought he would. "We'll work it out." We're both quiet again, lost in our own thoughts as we lie intertwined. This time I break the silence. "Did you know that Stairway to Heaven was never released as a single?" I ask. He chuckles against my skin, pressing a kiss to one breast before he pushes up to look at me. "No, baby, I didn't know that. It was considered too long for radio play." I smile, raising up on my elbows. Edward straightens up, then pulls me so that I'm sitting up. "So, sex with me makes you think of classic rock?" "No, great sex on a staircase with you makes me think of a specific classic rock song." I correct, wrapping my arms around his neck. He kisses me languidly, lazily. "Move in with me," he says against my lips. "I already said I would," I reply, pulling back slightly and looking into his eyes. "Humor me," he pleads, smiling. "Move in." "Yes," I answer, sighing happily when he wraps his arms around me, hugging me tightly. "Bella, As long as you're answering yes to stuff. Can I ask a couple more questions? Yes, I laugh, assuming he'll try to slip a proposal in. There's a cocktail reception for the operating system launch in June. Will you come with me? Yes, I have to go to that conference in San Diego again this summer. Can you get away and come? Yes. Can we tell your dad that we're moving in together soon while he still feels guilty for almost shooting us? Laughing again, I nod. Yes. One more, he says, pulling back to look at me. Okay, ask me. I shift one hand to his face, brushing my fingers along his jaw and wondering if I will be able to turn him down this time. I'm not sure I can. Can we get up now? My knees are killing me. That wasn't what I expected him to say, although I guess it serves me and my giant ego right. I press my lips to his quickly and smile. Yes, let's go to bed. In our room, he says, wincing as he stands. But when he holds a hand toward me to help me up, he smiles. Yes, Ned, in our room. $10 if you can hit his mouth, Jas whispers. 10. You used to pay me 20, I answer lowly, turning to look at him. I eat the last 2 pieces of popcorn out of my hand. I used to be afraid you didn't have money. When you first started working for us, we could hardly afford to pay you. Now I know you make good bank. He smiles at me the same way he always has, and I feel a pang of sadness in my chest. Everything's changing, I whine, slumping toward him to lean on his shoulder. For the better, baby swan, he reassures me. Unless you've changed your mind about moving in with Edward. It's not too late. Chuckling, I look at the boxes stacked around the living room. My stuff is all packed up and I'm here with just my boys for just one more night. I haven't, I reply, smiling softly. Honestly, I can't wait to move in with Edward tomorrow. I haven't had a second thought about it since I made the decision 3 weeks ago. I'm nervous, excited, and since I'm a chicken shit at heart, also scared, but I'm absolutely sure that I made the right choice for myself. For us. Did you finally tell your dad? Jas asks, amused. Yeah, he was surprisingly cool and supportive. I didn't even have to bring up the whole loaded shotgun incident. Under my head, Jas' shoulder shakes with silent laughter, but my smile fades as I sigh. This is it, Jas. It will ever be just the 3 of us like this again. Probably not, he agrees. Now it'll be the 6 of us. 5, 6, 5, 6, he insists. Who aren't you counting? Rosalie, I say, smirking. I can't help it. I thought you were getting along with her. Jas nudges me off his shoulder, forcing me to sit up and look at him. I am, I huff. But still I used to think she was engaged to the man I love. It's not that easy to get over. You forgave him. Jas gives me his version of the look mama uses on the boys when they know they're not behaving the way they should. Shut up. I scowl, lowering my eyes. I can't look into his scolding Texas skies right now. I'm mostly fine with her. I can't say this shit to anyone except you. Can't I just have a moment of bad feelings about her every once in a while? Yeah, you can, he allows, slinging his arm around my shoulder. He pulls me close and kisses the top of my head. Just don't say it to Em. At the mention of his name, Emmett stirs on the couch across the room. Huh, you say something to me. He mumbles. No, sweetie. Go back to sleep, I soothe. Jas and I sit in silence for a moment, watching Emmett drift back to sleep, arms flung over his head. Mouth hanging wide open once more. Thanks for helping me pack, Jas. And for helping me after Jake and with all the Edward stuff. You're the best friend I've ever had. You're welcome, baby swan, he answers. He sounds like he might be a little choked up, so I pull away to look at him. His eyes are misty, which makes me immediately tear up, too. I turn sideways on the fireplace hearth, and we wrap our arms around each other tightly. God, Jas, I'll miss you so much. Sugar, you realize you'll still see me every day at work, right? I know, I laugh. But it'll be different. Yeah, now you'll go home at night and bitch to Edward about the little princesses in our office. Thank God I won't have to listen to that shit anymore, Jas teases, trying to lighten the mood. Across the room from us, Emmett mutters something in his sleep. Jas pulls away from me and reaches for the popcorn bowl on the floor at our feet. He holds it out to me, and I take another handful. All right, $20 if you hit his mouth, he challenges. Since he didn't give me any conditions, I toss all the popcorn in my hand at Emmett's face, raising my arms above my head in victory when 2 pieces hit his open mouth. Emmett sits up, blinking sleepily and brushing away the popcorn on his chest as Jas and I laugh. I knew you would do that, Jas declares, shaking his head at me as I stand up. I carry the bowl and our empty beer bottles into the kitchen while he gets Em up and drags him to the guest room. When I get upstairs, Jas is leaning against the wall in the hallway. We're starting at 8, right? He asks, stifling a yawn. Yep, I answer, yawning, too. All right, I'm turning in then, he says. Gimme some sugar, sugar. We kiss on the cheek, and then hug tightly. Love you, Jas, I whisper. I love you, too. Darlin'. But this one had better stick, he drawls, his accent more pronounced since he's tired. This is the last fucking time I'm helping you move. Blank, blank. Although I fall asleep easily, I wake up several times during the night, anxiously checking the clock. By the time my room starts to get light, I've been awake and staring at the ceiling for over an hour. With a sigh, I get up and shower, and then pack the last of my things from up here. Silently, I go downstairs, wandering slowly from room to room until I wind up in the kitchen. After I start the coffee, I pull open the dishwasher and check to see if I missed anything of mine. I find my favorite spatula and toss it into the open box on the counter, but that's it. Everything else is Jasper's. Trying to ignore the butterflies in my stomach, I tape the box shut and carry it to the living room, stacking it on top of the other kitchen boxes near the door. It's barely past 7 o'clock, so I'm surprised when I look out the window and see Edward backing a borrowed truck into the driveway. Grinning widely, I step out onto the porch and stand at the top of the steps to watch him walk up the sidewalk. Good morning, Ned, I say as he climbs toward me. He stops on the stair just below me. Hi, baby, I thought you'd still be in bed, enjoying your last morning without me, I tease, kissing him. And then wrapping my arms around his shoulders. Yeah, it's gonna suck waking up with you every day, he laughs, burying his face in my neck. I could sleep in the guest room. No way, Stell, he murmurs against my skin. I kiss the side of his head as he tightens his arms around my waist. We stand still for a moment, until he pulls back to look at me with a smirk. I'm sure I'll get used to your snoring eventually. Edward Cullen, I do not snore. I punch his arm playfully and kiss him back when he leans in again. Taking his hand, I pull him inside, quiet L. Why telling him that Jas and Em are still sleeping? You sure have a lot of shit, he observes as we wind through the boxes scattered around the living room. You're the one who said I could move all my shit to your house. I whisper teasingly, turning around to smile at him. In the kitchen, I pour coffee for both of us. Edward takes his and leans against the counter. I take mine and lean against him, my back to his chest. We drink in silence for a moment before I speak. You're sure, right, that you want to live with me? MMHMM, he answers, taking another sip as he wraps his free arm around my waist, pulling me closer. You're not changing your mind, are you? No, I say softly, shaking my head with confidence. No, I'm not. You're nervous. Reluctantly, I nod. Did you take Pepto? Laughing, I turn around to look up at him. I wasn't even aware he knew of my penchant for using the pink stuff to settle my nerves. Not yet. He sets his coffee down on the counter behind him and lifts his hand, warm from the heat of the cup, to the side of my neck. I'm nervous, too, Stell. It's a big day for us, yeah. My voice is barely above a whisper. I'm sure things between us will change in some ways, he says, his deep green eyes fixed on mine. And every day won't be perfect. We won't be perfect, but I love you, and I'm committed to you. I'm not running away. I'm not running either, I insist. Raising up on my tiptoes to press my lips to his. I love you. Winding one arm around his neck, I kiss him several times before pulling his bottom lip in between mine. He responds by sliding the hand on my neck up into my hair. At the same time, he snakes the fingers of his other hand under the material of my t-shirt, stroking gently slowly along the skin just above the waistband of my shorts. I let my teeth scrape along his lip as I let go, starting to rear back. He mutters, using the hand in my hair to keep me in place. Fuck, how long has it been since we kissed like this? 2 days, I breathe, gripping the material of his shirt to pull myself closer. Still holding my coffee cup in my other hand, I wrap that arm around his back as we press our mouths together. Tongues and lips touching and then retreating again and again. Whoa, break it up, you two. It's too early in the day for me to stomach the tongue wars, Emmett complains when he comes into the kitchen. Edward pulls his mouth away, chuckling. Hey, Emmett, he greets, turning his head toward the interrupter. After lowering myself to stand flat-footed, I rest my head against Edward's chest. Inhaling his scent and half listening to them plan the logistics of moving all my stuff. As he talks, the vibration of his voice rumbling soothingly under my ear, he continues ghosting his fingers across the skin of my lower back. With a silent sigh, I think back to the day that Jake moved in with me. We had just gotten engaged, and I figured the next logical step was to live together. My boys didn't help that day. I knew they didn't like Jake very much, but other than a few snide comments, they supported me. In retrospect, I wish I'd paid more attention to their observations and had the wisdom to get rid of him before the proposal, although who knows where I would have ended up by now if I had. I guess things happened the way they were supposed to. Closing my eyes, I swallow, releasing the grasp I have on Edward's shirt and curling my fingers around the nape of his neck instead. I feel him press his lips to my forehead. I hear Jas come in, mumbling about needing caffeine. But I keep my eyes shut, letting my thoughts center on this man, the one I'm clinging to, depending on, planning on living with for the rest of my life. It seems silly now that I considered, however briefly, turning him down when he came to Key West. Even with the pain of everything we went through last fall and winter, the end result is better than I imagined it could be. Baby Swan, are you gonna stand here daydreaming all day, or are we gonna move your ass in with Edward? Jas asks teasingly. My eyes pop open as I laugh happily, looking first at Edward, and then turning to Jas and M. Let's move my ass. Blank. We move all of my boxes first, finishing just as Alice and Riley arrive with pizza for lunch. Once we've eaten, Alice offers to help me unpack while the guys head back to Jasper's to start moving my furniture. For the next 3 hours, we put things away in the home office, the living room and, finally, the kitchen. Alice chatters about Jasper almost non-stop, the same way he does about her. By the time we're organizing the kitchen cabinets, I'm listening distractedly to her while also trying to hear what the guys are talking about in the living room. They're taking a break with beer and have been laughing loudly. What do you think they're talking about? I ask, looking up at her. I'm sitting on the floor trying to sort out Edward's plastic containers. Women or sports, she smiles. What else would they be talking about? Sex, I whisper, laughing as I glance at Riley. She's very carefully unpacking a box at the table and not paying attention to us at all. But I can't talk about that with you. Why not? The day I met you, you were sitting on the counter in your undies with your tongue in my brother's mouth, she says quietly, bending down so Riley can't hear. Forget talking about it. Riley and I almost witnessed the real deal. As we both laugh, the guys' voices fade. They must be heading back upstairs. True, I concede. But still, I don't want to know how my best friend is in bed any more than you want to know how your brother is. It's a fact of life, Bella, she says dismissively. It doesn't bother me to talk about it. So I guess you do want to hear about it then? I ask, smirking. Because Edward does this one thing with his Okay, stop, stop, she exclaims, laughing and holding her hands over her ear. The way I did when Mama was talking about Big Daddy. You win. I don't want to hear it. We move on to safer topics for a little while before she drops her voice again. Are you coming to court Thursday? I don't know. I answer just as quietly, looking up at her. I want to for you and for Edward. But he's kind of freaking about it. He doesn't want me to go either, she sighs. But I need to. I have to face James. I don't want him to think he can ever get past me. Get to Riley. He can't, Alice, I insist. He'd have to get through all of us. I know, she nods. We keep our gazes Ed to each other's for a few more seconds, until Riley walks over and sits down beside me on the floor, holding my salad spinner. Bella, next time I stay here can we make something in this? Sure, sweetie, I answer, chuckling when she cranks it as fast as she can. Hey, Stell, Edward calls, speaking loudly to be heard over the noise. Turning toward his voice, I see him leaning against the wide kitchen doorway. You want to come upstairs and make sure we put the furniture where you wanted it? Yep, I answer, smiling at him as I push myself up from the floor. He follows me up the steps, king his fingers in the back pocket of my shorts. At the top of the staircase, I start to turn right toward the master bedroom. Guest room, baby, he says. Puzzled, I turn left instead, stopping short at the door to the guest room. Jas and Emmett are inside, setting my lamps on my nightstands. On each side of my bed. Why the hell is our bedroom furniture in here? I ask, looking at Ned over my shoulder. Your bedroom furniture is in here, he replies. Our bedroom furniture is in our bedroom. I turn all the way around to face him. We agreed to put my furniture in the master. No, he argues, frowning at me. We agreed to leave mine in the master. Edward, I specifically remember you giving in on this, I insist. No, you gave in and said, fine, he says, mimicking my snotty voice. Then I said, okay. Every man knows that when a woman says, fine, the way I said, fine, it is 100% not fine. I reply, heart pounding, volume increasing. So when you said, okay, I assumed you understood and were agreeing with me. Well, I wasn't. Fine. I hold my hands up, palms out, then scoot by him and head to the MSTER bedroom. Eyes filled with angry tears, I go straight to the walk-in closet. I flip the light on and grab an armful of the hanging clothes I brought over 2 nights ago. Sniffling, I turn my head to wipe my nose and one cheek on the sleeve of my shirt before I go back into the hallway. When Edward sees me coming, he huffs out an exasperated breath. What are you doing? He asks lowly as I pass him. Moving my clothes into my bedroom, I answer coolly, where the rest of my things are. Oh, Jesus, he mutters under his breath, letting his head drop back and bang against the wall. Inside the guest room, I slam all the clothes I'm carrying onto the bed. Picking up just a few things and stomping to the closet to hang them up. I hear Emmett chuckle softly and turn to glare at him. Something to say, big fella? I ask, raising an eyebrow at him. No. He's not smiling anymore as he shakes his head back and forth tightly, rapidly. I think we'll go downstairs, Jas announces, leading the way from the bedroom as I get another handful of lofts and roughly hang them on the closet rod. He pauses in the doorway to speak to Edward. She'll settle down. This is just how she reacts to fear. I can hear you, cowboy, I spit, walking toward them. And this is not how I react to fear. This is how I react to assholes. Semi-assholes, Edward asserts. I'm unsure if he's trying to argue or if he's trying to be funny. It doesn't matter. Either way, I'm pissed. Full-blown assholes, I retort loudly as I push my way between them, rushing down the stairs and out the front door to the porch. I inhale shakily and lean against one of the support posts, crossing my arms over my chest and facing the street. Carlisle and Esme's car is parked at the curb, meaning they came inside while I was upstairs, meaning they definitely heard me yelling about assholes. A couple of minutes pass before I hear the door open and close. Recognizing Edward's deep sigh, I stand still as he approaches, stopping just behind and to the left of me. "I don't want to fight with you," he says quietly. "I don't want to fight with you either," I whisper. Neither of us says anything else, letting an uncomfortable silence hang between us. I'm relieved to hear the door open again. I don't look to see who it is, but when Carlyle moves past us to sit down on the porch steps with a quiet groan, I smile involuntarily. "Gonna be a nice evening," he remarks, looking at the mostly blue sky above. "Esme and I brought steaks to grill for everyone. You kids have had a long day." I swallow the lingering lump in my throat, and then answer him since Edward doesn't. "Thank you," he nods, continuing to look out at the street instead of at Edward and me behind him. "You know, when Esme and I moved in together, we had the biggest fight over the kitchen table," he muses. "She liked hers, I liked mine. Both of us are independent and had been on our own long enough to be set in our ways. She's also a little stubborn." I chuckle softly. Carlyle turns to look at me pleadingly. "Don't tell her I said that. It'll make her mad." "I won't." Facing forward again, he continues. "Anyway, we argued, heatedly. It's odd the way common sense often goes flying out the window just when you need it the most," he observes, pausing to take a deep breath and probably to let his words sink in. "We left both tables crammed in the kitchen for 2 days while we hardly spoke to each other. And then she had a brilliant idea. You're allowed to tell her I said that." He glances briefly over his shoulder at Edward and me. We laugh softly. We went and picked out a new table that night. One both of us liked. One that was ours. Inhaling sharply, I twist around to look at Edward at the same time I feel his hand on the back of my arm. As soon as our eyes meet, we move toward each other, quickly closing the distance. He leans down and I reach up, holding tight. I'm sorry, too," I mumble against his shoulder. "We can move your stuff into the moss," he begins. "No, it's fine," I interrupt, not realizing until he chuckles that I've used the word that started the whole stupid argument. I pull away enough to see his face, but don't let go. "I mean that for real this time." "Got it," he smiles. "It doesn't matter whose bed we sleep in," I whisper, hugging him again. "For now," he agrees. "But we'll go pick out our own stuff soon, yeah." As I nod, he kisses the side of my head. Sliding one hand into his hair, I shift around to get my lips on his, kissing him several times before pulling back. Glancing toward the steps, I see that Carlyle is gone. "Where'd your dad go?" "I don't know," he answers, looking around. "Back inside, I guess." "Funny how your dad shares helpful anecdotes," I smirk, while my dad pulls a shotgun on us. "Your dad gave me some advice when we were in Forks on his birthday," he offers. "About what?" What did he say?" "You don't really expect me to tell you, do you?" "It was all good, baby." He leans down to kiss me again. "Don't try to distract me, Ned," I warn teasingly as we smile against each other's lips. "I wasn't going to do this until later, but now seems like the right time." He releases me and takes a step back, reaching into his pocket. My mouth drops open when I see the small, square velvet box in his hand. "Ned," I breathe, snapping my eyes up to meet his as my heart begins to race. Shit, am I ready to say yes? I'm not sure. I haven't thought about it much lately. Since the night I told him I'd move in, he hasn't mentioned marriage. He went from proposing several times a week to complete and utter silence on the subject. When he grabs my left hand, my chest rises and falls rapidly. I hear the quiet creak and pop of the hinge as Edward opens the lid of the jeweler's box and finally allow myself to look down. It's not a ring. Surprised at the disappointment that floods through me, I swallow and stare at the charm inside the box. It's a silver house and key. It's perfect, I say, but I don't trust myself to look at him yet. Afraid he'll be able to tell that I'm a little let down. Gently, I pick up the charm and hold it toward him. "Help me put it on the bracelet." Snapping the box shut, he puts it back in his pocket and takes the charm, letting go of my left hand to grasp the bracelet hanging from my wrist. He twists it around until he finds an empty space, and then tries to hook the charm on. But every time he gets the clasp open, he loses his grip and it closes again. He mutters curse words under his breath as we both laugh. Covering his fingers with mine, I help him and in a few seconds. The house and key are hanging from the bracelet in between the canoe and the rabbit. Twirling the bracelet around, I look at each charm, remember what each one represents. I love it, I whisper. My sadness of a few moments ago now overshadowed by joy as I study the newest edition again. Tilting my head up, I smile at him. It's the house. It's our home, he says, bending down to me when I reach for his neck and tug. How soon can we kick all these people out of here? I breathe in his ear. 5 minutes, he answers eagerly. They brought dinner, I remind him, pulling away to look at him. Shit, I forgot, he groans, dropping his head back for a moment and then checking his watch. It's a little after 4 o'clock now. You start yawning at 7 and I'll do the rest. Okay, I laugh. As we turn to walk inside, he wraps his arm around my shoulders, pulling me close and leaning down to speak quietly to me again. Then get your clothes off and pick a bed. Yours or mine. I open the door and walk inside first, looking at him over my shoulder. I think mine, I answer. And then yours. Stella, he threatens quietly, you're starting something that I'm going to make sure you finish later. Counting on it, Ned, I sigh, holding my hand out behind me. He slides his fingers between mine and I squeeze gently as I pull him along toward the kitchen. I'm counting on it, blank, underscore, blank. All day Thursday, my stomach is in knots. I drink a little Pepto. I try to work, but I end up spending most of the day staring out my office window while I chew on my thumbnail. Nothing yet, Emmett asks. Swiveling my chair to face him, I shake my head. Sighing, he moves from the doorway into my office and drops into one of the chairs in front of my desk. Shit, I thought they'd be done by now. Me, too, I agree. You should have gone with Rosalie. Nah, he shakes his head. After she heard that Edward had talked you into staying away, she thought I should hang with you. She didn't want you to be alone all day. Well, crap, that's gonna make it hard for me to continue harboring bad feelings about her. Thanks, Em, I smile. I fought Edward a little bit when he insisted that I skip Jamie's sentencing today, but I eventually gave in, unwilling to continue looking at the worried expression on his face. Edward and his dad are there though, along with Alice and Jasper. And Rosalie and Jack, and we haven't heard a damn thing from them all day except, no news yet. Edward tried to assure me this morning that since Jamie had already agreed to a plea deal, this sentencing was just a formality. Still, knowing how much Jamie tries to manipulate every situation to his advantage, I'm afraid that no news is not good news. Emmett spends a little more time in my office, helping me go over a presentation I have coming up for a potential client, but I can't concentrate for more than a couple of minutes at a time. Finally, we give up. Em off. To take me for a drink since happy hour is starting at Bobby's. Shaking my head, I tell him I really just want to go home and wait for Edward. I know he understands and I have a feeling he's going to do the same thing. As I'm driving, I get a text from Edward and grab my phone to glance at it. Asterisk on my way home. My stomach drops. The fact that he didn't go into detail and didn't call makes me afraid that things didn't go well. I beat him home and go upstairs to change out of my work clothes. As I'm standing in the closet in shorts and a bra, I hear the alarm panel beep and know that he's coming in from the garage. Quickly yanking a t-shirt from its hanger, I slip it over my head as I race out of our room and halfway down the stairs, stopping when I see him. He's standing in the living room, his back to me, pulling his tie apart. His suit jacket is already laying over the arm of the couch. Edward, I ask hesitantly. When he turns around, he looks drained, but he smiles slightly. It's over, baby. All of it. He nods, sliding the tie from underneath the collar of his shirt and dropping it on top of his coat. He got 3 years and a hefty fine. He'll probably serve about half the time. According to Jack's lawyer, he says, perching on the low back of the couch. He signed the papers severing his parental rights to Riley, and Jack assured me that James won't bother us again, even after he's released from prison. Frowning, I walk the rest of the way down the stairs. How does he? I begin before Edward interrupts. I don't want to know, he sighs, rubbing his hands tiredly across his face. When I stand in front of him, he drops his hands to look at me. I'm sure Jack is paying him off somehow. I don't really give a shit. I just don't want him to hurt my family again. Hoping to give comfort, I wrap my arms around him and pull his head forward to rest on my shoulder. He won't, Ned, I say softly. He won't be able to hurt Alice or get to Riley. Are you? He replies insistently. Raising his head, he lifts his hands to span my waist. I mean you, too, Stell. You're the most important person in my life. You're my family as much as Alice Riley Carlyle. You know that, right? Yes, I whisper. I lean forward, resting my forehead against his and closing my eyes. I know. I feel the same. For a moment, we are still and silent, our quiet breathing the only sound in the house. When I realize he's breathing faster, I open my eyes to find him staring at me. Slowly, he drags his hands up my sides, and then glides them back down to my hips. I need you. He grasps the hem of my shirt and pulls it up as I raise my arms to help. When he kisses me, it's slow and deep. We take our time undressing each other, using our hands and lips to caress each bit of skin that's uncovered. Until we fall together to the couch behind him. As he pushes into me, I keep my gaze locked on his, feeling the connection between us that is so much more than physical. We move together unhurriedly. Neither of us speaks, but I can feel the tension of the last few days leave our bodies. His eyes are clear and unguarded for the first time since Tuesday. After a moment, he stills and leans down to kiss me. Then presses himself impossibly deeper. God, Ned, I moan, wrenching my mouth away as I arch my back. I love you, please. I love you, too, he answers as he pushes up on one arm. With his other hand, he reaches for my leg, holding it tightly against his hip as he thrusts into me powerfully. He keeps his pace slow and steady until I buck underneath him, pulling on his shoulders. Lowering his chest to mine, he buries his face in my neck, breathing hard, moving faster. When I'm close, I grip him more tightly, crying out as the orgasm bursts through me. He comes right after, groaning loudly against my skin. We lie motionless as our pounding heartbeats slow, returning to normal. Eventually, he shifts around a bit, but doesn't move off me. Stell, do you think it's bad that I was happy today? He asks thoughtfully. I sat in that courtroom and watched a man lose everything in his life, but I felt no sorrow. Even knowing that he's Riley's biological father, I couldn't force myself to feel the slightest bit of pity for him. Reaching up to sink one hand into his hair, I turn my head and kiss the side of his face. No, Ned, I don't think it's bad, I soothe. After what he did to Alice and Riley, then what he did to you, Jack, the company us. I think he's a rat bastard who deserves everything he got. Yeah, I feel better just knowing that we won't have to worry about him for a while, he answers. We're quiet for another moment, each lost in our own thoughts, until his stomach growls. Feeling his chest shake with laughter, I smile, too. When he pushes himself up to look at me, I reach up to trace his upturned lips with my thumbs. I'm hungry, too, I say. I was so nervous that I couldn't eat today. I took some of your Pepto, he admits. Twice. Laughing, I drag him down to kiss me one more time. When we get up, he walks around the couch and pulls on his boxers, and then hands me my underwear and his dress shirt to wear. You look cute in my stuff, he remarks as I finish buttoning the shirt and roll back the cuffs. Maybe I'm not that hungry after all. Oh, no. We're not skipping dinner, I argue, wrapping my arms around his waist. I hug him tightly, then look up at him. But I could make something that's fast and we can eat in bed. He doesn't answer, but when he bends down to pick me up, striding purposeful, Lee toward the kitchen as I wrap my legs around him, I take it as a sign that he likes my plan. Blank, underscore, blank. 2 weeks later, we're spending our Saturday looking at furniture again. It's the 4th time in the last 10 days that we've been shopping, and it's the 1-year anniversary of the day we met. I feel like we've been to almost every store in Seattle. But so far, we haven't been able to agree on anything. And so far, Edward hasn't indicated that he remembers what today is. You like this one? I ask hopefully, standing next to an oak, mission-style set. It's similar to the set he already has, but has some wrought iron detail work on the headboard. Not really. What about that one? Nope. Too contemporary, he replies, wandering away. When I exhale dramatically, he turns back around. Unless that's what you like. What I'd like is to not waste another hour in this furniture store. What I'd like is for us to be able to agree on something before I go insane. What I'd like is to rewind my life 6 days and pretend to love the big, 4-poster bed he wanted at a different store. But, instead, I smile at him. No, Ned, I didn't want that one either, I say, sighing again. As he turns away again, I look toward the back corner of the store. Seeing something I like, I walk toward it. The sleigh bed is white and covered by a floral duvet, but it has a really great shape and also comes in a darker wood finish. I check the price tag, open and close the drawers on the nightstand and dresser, and then walk back to stand at the foot of the bed. Standing still, I slide my hands back and forth over the smooth wood, appalled at the tears stinging my eyes. When did this happen to me? When did I become such a hopeless romantic? Why am I teary-eyed? In the middle of a furniture store as I imagine spending countless nights and days in this bed with Edward. In my peripheral vision, I see him approaching, but I don't turn my head. Stell, I'm not really a pink flower kind of guy. He teases quietly, stopping beside me and propping his elbow on my shoulder. He leans a little of his weight on me. And the white furniture is just too girly. I swallow carefully before I answer, hoping to make my voice sound normal. It comes in cherry wood, too, I say, almost making it to the end of the sentence before my voice cracks. What's the matter? Did I upset you? He asks, immediately pulling me into his arms. No, I whisper. You like this one? I nod. Okay, we'll get it. Do you like it? I want you to like it, too. He keeps an arm around me as he looks at the wood swatch. Opens the drawers of the dresser, knocks on the headboard. Seems sturdy, he declares, trying to make me laugh. It works. Let's order it and get out of here, yeah. We've got something to celebrate. You remember? I ask, turning to face him. Baby, I'll never forget the day you first called me an arrogant semi-asshole, he smiles. Then he leans down to whisper in my ear. Or the first time you called me Ned. You were mad, I smirk. That didn't stop you from saying it over and over, he retorts. You got used to it, I laugh. I didn't have a choice, he insists, amused. First you changed my name, and then you changed my life. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I ask, grinning up at him as I repeat the question he asked me a year ago today. Best thing that ever happened to me, he answers, bending down to peck my lips. Hands down. The furniture salesman who's been trailing us around the store for the last hour suddenly appears beside us. Probably sensing that we've made a decision. As I listen to Edward place the order and hear the salesman say it will take about 12 weeks for the furniture to be delivered, I keep thinking the same thing. Ned's the best thing that ever happened to me, too. Blank, underscore, blank. Hey, Jas, I greet, sliding into the opposite side of the restaurant booth. Sorry I'm late, but I got the contract signed. I beam across the table at him. He smiles back and nods. Knew you would, baby swan, he remarks. You're getting to be the best closer McCarty and Whitlock has on staff. The waitress sets down a platter of nachos in between us, then takes my drink order. I study the menu for a moment. I'm not sure why. I get the same thing every time we come here. After closing the menu and setting it down, I reach for a chip and look up at Jasper. Where's everybody else? I ask, holding my hand across my mouth to hide the food. Edward's out of town, he advises, then chuckles. That one I knew, I reply, rolling my eyes. I pause to thank the waitress when she sets my drink in front of me. Rose and M. Alice. Alice is with Riley at gymnastics class. Rose and M have something with Jack tonight, he answers. He slumps against the back of the booth. So it's just you and me. I smile, picking up another nacho. It makes me a little happy that I'm getting him to myself tonight. Yeah, I guess, he shrugs. Then falls silent. Frowning slightly, I look at Jas while he looks at his pilsner of beer. Something's up with him, but I know him well enough to know that he won't tell me until he's good and ready. So I fill the silence. I talk about work. I talk about my dad and Kim. I talk about buying a new car and, after explaining the furniture shopping odyssey, insist T. Had I'm not taking Edward with me until I've narrowed it down to just a couple of options. Jas is cooperative, he asks questions, laughs in all the right places, makes a few smartass remarks. But he's not himself. We're finishing our entrees when I lean across the table. I'm trying to wait you out, I say quietly. But I can't stand it anymore. What the hell's going on with you? He sighs heavily and reaches into his pocket. Then sets a small, black velvet box on the table between us. What is that, are you? I stammer, reaching for the square box. Alice. He nods tightly, and I lower my eyes and open the lid. Oh, God, Jas. I say, my eyes widening when I see the ring. It's a delicate diamond band with a larger round diamond on top. It's beautiful. She'll love it. You think she'll say yes? He asks, his fearful tone making me raise my eyes back to his. You think she won't? He shrugs. I don't know. It's fast. She's been hurt before, he replies, dropping his eyes to the tabletop. She might be reluctant to take the leap. But I kinda figured everything with James is settled, at least for the moment. Riley gets out of school soon for the summer. Maybe this would be a convenient time to combine our households. What? I ask, scrunching my face up. I wait until he looks up at me before I continue. Jas, that's the worst potential proposal I've ever heard. It's not romantic in the slightest. Well, what should I say? If you were going to tell her how you really feel, what would you say? That I love her more than anything, and I want her and Riley with me every day, he answers. Smiling at him, I nod my approval. That, my friend, is how you propose to the love of your life, I reply, closing the box and holding it toward him. I'm so happy for you. Thanks, he says as he smiles his regular smile for the first time this evening. He sets the box down beside his plate, keeping his hand over it. What about you? You guys gonna make things official? I don't know, Jas, I admit, leaning forward onto my elbows. It's the strangest thing. All spring, he asked me to marry him 2 or 3 times a week. Then, when I agreed to move in with him, he stopped. Cold turkey. Doesn't even mention it anymore. Huh, he says, frowning slightly. He's given me jewelry twice since I moved in little boxes like that, I declare, nodding at the ring box. I'm surprised at the tone of my voice. I sound angry. First it was a charm for my bracelet. Then last weekend, on the 1-year anniversary of the day we met, he took me to the fanciest restaurant in Seattle and laid a box like that on the table. He made me open it myself with my stupid, shaking hands, and I could hardly breathe by the time I saw that these were inside. I raise both index fingers to point at the princess-cut diamond studs he gave me last Saturday. Very pretty, sugar, Jas remarks. I know they're pretty, I huff, exasperated. But he keeps faking me out with those little fucking boxes. To my surprise, Jasper sits back in his side of the booth, laughing hard. I take a sip of my beer, waiting for him to say something, but he doesn't explain. What? I ask, irritated. He knows you so well, Jas says, still chuckling. It took Emmett and me several years to figure out how to handle you. How to handle me. How to get you to do what we want you to do, he clarifies. And how is that? Sitting back, I cross my arms over my chest to display my annoyance. Plant the seed. Push you as far as you'll go without balking, then back off and let you come around to wanting it on your own. Huh, he proposed repeatedly when he knew that you wouldn't take him seriously, knew it was too soon. Now that you guys are moving that way, he's stopped. He's letting you get over your fear. Waiting for you to want him to ask. But he loves you. He'll ask you when he thinks you're ready to say yes. I wouldn't have said no the night I agreed to move in, I claim. You were ready to say yes. Or you didn't want to say no again. Jasper's tone is gentle. His eyes are warm and inquisitive and expecting me to be truthful. I don't know, I answer sullenly, shrugging as I lower my eyes. Yes, you do. I wasn't ready to say yes, I admit. I'm still scared. But I love him. I want to marry him someday. I know. He knows. Don't rush it, says the guy who's rushing it, I remark sarcastically. Baby swan, he says, sliding out of his side and moving to sit next to me. I've wanted to get married for years. You know that. I just hadn't found Alice. There's no timetable for you to take the plunge. I wasn't freaked like this about marrying Jake, I whisper, voicing my biggest concern. Why am I so scared to marry Edward, but said yes instantly when Jake asked? You didn't love Jake this way. He wasn't the right guy. Quote, he sure wasn't, I mutter, leaning into Jas when he puts his arm around my shoulders. This time, you've got the right guy, you'll know when you're ready. I want to be ready. You will be. I've never seen you as happy as you are with him, he says. And you know I'm right about this, all of it. Nodding my agreement, I let my eyes settle on the ring box across the table. Trusting that he's right, that someday when I see a box that size, my heart will pound with only joy instead of the mix of joy and terror I felt last week. I just wish I knew when that someday will be. 3 days later, Jas and Alice come over to tell us they're engaged. I hug them both excitedly, feeling nothing but pure happiness for them. They brought a bottle of champagne, and we sit outside drinking until the bottle is gone. As they leave, Edward and I stand on the porch with our arms around each other. I hope they know what they're doing, he says, raising a hand to wave goodbye when they start to drive away. This is all happening really fast. Stepping in front of him, I wrap my arms around his neck and look up at him. You know, Ned, I'm discovering that it's more about the who than the when. His green eyes roam my face as he nods. You're right, Stella. You're my who. You're my who, too, I laugh, barely able to pucker up when he bends down to kiss me. His deep, answering chuckle makes me sigh as I dig my fingers into his hair, holding him in place as I press my lips to his. After a minute, he starts to back up, pulling me inside the house and toward the stairs. I follow willingly, and for the first time in several days, I'm not at all worried about the when. August. Ladies and gentlemen, we're making our final approach into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, the pilot announces. While he continues talking about the Texas summer weather and various connecting flights to other cities, I look to my left, across the first-class aisle. Edward is reading a book. Turning to my right, I see Riley, who insisted on sitting with me instead of Alice. Jasper or Edward still sleeping, curled up against the window with her blanket. Smiling down at her, I let my thoughts drift back over the last 2.5 months since Jasper and Alice got engaged. In June, Hale Software launched its new operating system in the United States to greater than anticipated sales. Jack was so pleased that he gave McCarty and Whitlock a bonus and a new advertising contract. Rosalie moved to Seattle full-time. We all helped her after the movers brought her furniture into her downtown condo, even me. Since I'm apparently not going to get away from her, I've dropped my grudge, discovering in the process that she's a pretty good friend. Her often brusque demeanor still offends me once in a while, but I'm getting more used to it. And Jas pointed out that she displays some of the same bitchy overreactions to fear that I do. We were at a bar when he made that assertion. causing me to choke on my beer. Then I had to drink 2 more beers when I realized he was right. Ned and I spent the 4th of July weekend at his grandparents' cabin again, but this year the whole Cullen clan tagged along. So there was no skinny dipping. And no canoe sex. While we were there, I overheard him ask Carlisle if we could build our own cabin across the pond, Masson Lake, in a couple of years. I backed out of the room before I heard Carlisle's answer, before either of them noticed that I had come through the kitchen doorway behind them. And I surprised myself by feeling mostly excited with just a tiny amount of terror at the thought of building a second home with him. Ned never mentioned anything to me about it, but he made me walk all the way around the lake, often trudging through ankle-deep mud. Several times, he wanted to stop and look at the view of the mountains, of the meadow to the east, of the water. As we were standing on the west side of the lake, I told him that I liked being able to look across the water and see the meadow. It wasn't really a hint, I was just commenting. But when he hooked his pinky finger around mine and quietly answered that it was his favorite view, I figured that we'd just picked our spot. Last weekend, the first weekend of August, we went to San Diego for the same technology conference we attended last year as fake boyfriend and girlfriend. We spent a lot of time with Peter and Charlotte during the 4-day trip. One morning while the guys were in a meeting, I confessed to Charlotte that Ned and I were only pretending to be a couple last summer. After hugging me, she disagreed, noting that we hadn't admitted our feelings to each other at that point, but that there was nothing fake about them, even then. She was right. The funniest part of the weekend was that Tanya Denali almost completely ignored Edward, seemingly having moved on to another target this year. We saw her 2 different evenings. In the bar, getting way too friendly with a guy who had to be younger than I am. Ned won't admit it, but I think his ego was a little wounded by the lack of attention. To make him feel better, I dragged Ed him to the room early the second night and got friendly with him. I think it worked. That was only 5 nights ago. After being home for just 3 nights, we're now headed to Texas for a wedding. Because Jasper and Alice decided that as long as you're rushing into an engagement, you might as well rush into a destination wedding at the Whitlock Ranch, too. When I look over at Edward again, he turns toward me and smiles. "I love you," I mouth. "You, too," he responds, leaning across the aisle and bracing his hand on my armrest. "She's still sleeping." "Yeah, I'm gonna wake her up in a sec," I say, covering his hand with mine. "Thanks for letting me sit next to her. I wasn't aware I had a choice," he laughs. Talk about having an attitude. I've seen that go south into full-blown tantrum. Enough times to know better than to fight it. I couldn't take the silent treatment and dirty looks the whole flight from Seattle. "Riley hasn't thrown a tantrum for a long time," I defend, frowning at him. "I meant you, Stell," he teases, flipping his hand to squeeze my fingers briefly before sitting back up with a chuckle. "Laugh it up, Ned," I say, raising one eyebrow at him even though I'm having a hard time keeping a straight face. "I'm telling Mama on you as soon as we get to the ranch." He laughs harder, his face reddening. It's an empty threat and he knows it. During the week she spent in Seattle last spring, Mama and Edward forged quite a bond. She'd be just as likely to take his side as mine in an argument. Rolling my eyes at him, I turn to Riley and gently wake her. We get her sandals back on and her blanket stowed in her backpack before landing. As soon as the plane stops at the gate, we unbuckle and stand up to deplane. I let Riley into the aisle ahead of me so that she's behind Alice and Jasper, who were sitting in front of us. I feel Ned's hand on my shoulder right before he breathes in my ear. "Baby, you know I was joking." "I know," I answer, twisting around to look at him with a too sweet smile. "Me, too. I won't tell Mama what you said." I wait for him to smile back before I continue. "I'll tell Big Daddy, blank, underscore, blank." When he picks us up from the airport, Big Daddy is grinning from ear to ear under his black cowboy hat. Once we're all piled into his Escalade, he starts his usual chatter about ministers and weddings, but this time he's talking to Alice instead of me. And this time, Big Daddy and Mama are getting the hitching they've wanted for their youngest son. At the ranch, Mama greets us all, and then pulls Alice, Rill, EY and me toward the kitchen while the boys carry the luggage inside. "Y'all must be starved to death after your trip," she remarks, carrying a chocolate cake to the table. "Bella, will you get some plates and forks please?" "Sure, Mama," I answer. "But you realize that Alice and I have to fit into some very important dresses on Saturday, right?" "Of course, sweet pea," she says, turning to smile at me. "We're just gonna have a little taste. Isn't that right, Riley?" Knowing better than to argue with Mama when she's decided that people need a good feeding, I carry the plates and forks to the table. And then pour a glass of milk for Riley and sweet tea for the rest of us. Not surprisingly, the talk at the table is all about the wedding. "Stay put, Mama," I say, patting her shoulder as I stand when the men come into the kitchen. "I'll take care of the boys." I get cake and tea for all of them and am standing at the counter when the back door opens. "Where's my future wife?" Smiling, I turn around to look at him. "Hey, Joey." Twisting his ball cap around backward, he walks straight toward me, grabbing me and dipping me over his arm. "Hi, beautiful," he grins. "Joey," I hiss quietly, "let me up." Edward's sitting right there. Quote, "I know that, darlin'." I can feel the heat of his glare, he drawls. "But I can't forget the pain in your eyes last Thanksgiving. I liked your city boy when I met him in Seattle. But I want to know he's still treating you well." "He is. We're happy," I insist. "Let me up." "Okay," he agrees, kissing my cheek and then setting me upright again. "Hey, Mama, hey, y'all." He walks to the table, kisses Alice and Riley and makes fun of his little brother for getting married in North Texas during the hottest month of the year. He turns down Mama's offer of cake, but, guessing he's thirsty, I pour him a glass of tea. While my back is turned, I hear him say hello to Edward and I hear Edward's terse reply. Joey moves back toward me, taking the glass I hand him and drinking most of it before coming up for air. "Thanks," he smiles. "You sure you don't want to move down here? Sweet tea and sweet lovin' are all it takes to keep a cowboy happy." "You're halfway there." "Gross," I scoff. "You'll have to rely on Maggie for that other half." His smile disappears immediately, replaced by the darkest expression I've ever seen on Joey's face. "I reckon Maggie'll be other halfin' someone else by now," he snaps. "She handed me a walking stick and told me where to shove it a month ago." "Oh, Joey, I'm sorry," I say, reaching for his arm and squeezing gently. "What happened?" "She started pressuring me. I tried to compromise, but it wasn't enough for her," he answers. "I swear, she'd complain if Jesus Christ himself came down and handed her $100 bill. She wanted to get married. She wanted to be my date for Jasper's wedding," he corrects, making me frown. Seeing my confused look, he rushes to explain. "I didn't see the need to label ourselves. Especially since she was already coming along with her folks to the reception. But she wanted to come to the ceremony with me so everyone would think she's my girlfriend. And you said no." "What a jackass," I mutter, shaking my head at him. "I can't just turn my whole life upside down for her," he asserts. "Plus, I never bring dates to family events." "But you've been dating since last fall," I remark incredulously. "We've been screwing since last fall," he retorts, smirking. "We don't go out much." I smack the side of his head lightly. "Idiot. I thought maybe you were in love with this girl." He looks down and turns around to lean against the counter, I assume so no one else can see his furrowed brow and droopy mouth. Glancing at the table, I see that Jas isn't paying any attention to us, but Edward is. I smile at him before sliding my eyes toward Mama. She's watching, too, and probably trying to listen. She's also smirking, which makes me suspicious. But I step back to face Joey, returning my focus to him. "Joey, I am in love with her," he admits quietly. "But I didn't say it when I should have and now I've fucked it all up. I don't know how to fix it. She won't take my calls. Won't see me." I wrap my arms around him, patting his back the same way I do Riley's when she's upset about something. Is she still coming to the reception? I don't know. Probably show up with someone else to rub it in my face. I rear back and reach my hands up to cup the sides of his face. Joseph Wesley Whitlock, you listen to me, I scold. All this moping around will not win back the woman you love. Make a plan and charm the pants off her. Quit smiling. I didn't mean that literally and you know it. Yes, ma'am, he replies, but he's starting to laugh. And so am I. He turns to face the table again. Alice, Riley, would you two like to walk down to the barn? I finished hanging all the lights this morning. The barn where Alice and Jasper's reception will be held isn't much of a barn. But it is a beautiful building with stained concrete floors, air conditioning, indoor plumbing, and a vaulted beam ceiling. Big Daddy built it for Jason and Bree's reception several years ago, and many other parties have been held there since. Everyone decides to go along except Mama, and, wanting a word alone with her, I decline, too. Edward makes a point of coming to kiss me goodbye. What's going on with Joey? He asks, putting his mouth close to my ear. Girl trouble, I whisper. Be nice to him. I will, he assures me, but he drops his hand from the middle of my back down to the top of my ass, presumably marking his territory since Joey is standing behind me. He grins at me as I shove him away. Once they're all out the door, I help Mama carry the plates and glasses to the sink. We talk about the wedding for the first few minutes, but eventually I twist the conversation toward what I want to know. Joey told me that Maggie broke up with him, I begin. That boy's crazier than a rabid coon about her, she says, handing me glasses to put in the dishwasher. Been dragging tail around here ever since she shut him down. Mama, you wouldn't have had anything to do with that shutdown, I asked curiously, would you? Folding my arms across my chest, I raise one eyebrow at her and purse my lips to the side. Bella, I'm surprised at you, she exclaims, pressing a hand over her heart. Thinking that I would intentionally do something so manipulative. Shaking her head, she clucks her tongue at me as she turns away and then she giggles. I knew it, I declare. What did you do? I tell you, I love that boy more than my own life, but Joseph has always been my most challenging child, she states, sighing as she wipes the counter. He's not any better looking than the rest of my boys. But he does have a certain kind of charm that the others don't possess. Women have been chasing him since he was 15 years old. So what did you do? Well, when I heard him bragging to his daddy about having Maggie wrapped around his little finger, I had no choice but to step in, she defends, turning her attention to rinsing out the sink. I'm starting to think that she doesn't want to look me in the eye. I could tell that she was different for him, but he's never had to really face his feelings for a woman before. He was fixin' to screw it all up. Quit justifying and start spilling. I suggested to Maggie that Joey might need to be the one doing the pursuing for once, she admits, finally facing me, and having the good sense to at least look sheepish about what she did. Ever since that day, she's been running and he's been chasing right after. Mama, I can't believe you would do that, I say, even though that's pretty close to what I thought she did. Joey's really hurting, sweet pea, I know that, she contends. When you're a mama, your baby's pain is like your own, no matter how old that baby is. But I have faith that the pain he's going through now will make his joy even greater when she finally relents. It's a risk, I remark. All great love is, she replies. Thought you would have learned that particular lesson yourself this past year. I did, I admit hesitantly. And the reward for you has been pretty great, she smiles. Yes, it has, I agree, smiling at her. You just glow around him, Bella. It does my heart good seeing all of you so happy. She comes toward me to hug me tightly. Well, everyone except Joey. I feel it building though. His heart will get the better of him soon, I think, and he'll make his big move. But then whose life will you meddle in? I tease as we pull apart. You'd best watch your smart remarks, Isabella, she chides, but she's trying not to laugh. There's never a shortage of loved ones who need a little extra guidance, including you. Now take me upstairs and show me the important dress you'll be wearing on Saturday. Yes, ma'am. Blank, underscore, blank. After dinner, Mama and I are in the kitchen playing cards with Riley. Bella, what's an old maid? Riley asks innocently. An older lady who's not married, I answer, smiling at her. Like you. I feel my face heat as Mama laughs. No, sweetie, someone older than me. My mommy's not an old maid, she announces. She's a bride. Someday, I want to be a bride. Do you want to be a bride someday, too, Bella? Before I have to answer, I hear boots on the floor as someone walks in behind me. Turning around, I see Ned, ready to head out with the Whitlock boys, wearing boots and a cowboy hat. Pushing away from the table, I stand up and walk toward him. Do I look stupid? No, Ned. As usual, you look ridiculously good. You'll be fighting off all the ladies at Shady's, I predict. The same way you fight off Joey. I knew this was going to come up again. Joey is a harmless flirt. He keeps calling you his future wife. Edward, he's joking, I insist, resting my palms against his chest. He's trying to get a rise out of you. He pulls me closer, linking his fingers at the back of my waist. He won't, but you could, he says lowly. Laughing, I smile up at him. Don't drink too much and we'll try that when you get back, I reply quietly. Pushing the brim of his hat back. Don't mess up my hat. You have to tip it back if you're gonna kiss your girl, I advise, pulling on his neck until he leans down. Fathers, guard your daughters. The Whitlock boys are goin' to town, Joey calls, clapping his hands as he leads Jas and Jason into the kitchen. Come on, city boy. Get your hands off my future wife and let's go shoot whiskey. Edward sighs against my lips. I kiss him quickly. Go, have fun. Don't fight, I say, stepping away to adjust his hat for him. I'll be here waiting. Blank, underscore, blank. Mama and I stay up talking well past midnight, and I haven't been asleep very long when my bedroom door opens. But instead of the tall, messy-haired silhouette I'm expecting, I see Mama's shadowy shape in the light from the hall. Panic races through me as I sit up. Mama, get your shoes, sweet pea. We've got a situation, she answers quietly, and then she's gone. Heart hammering in my chest. I turn on the bedside lamp and bolt from the bed. I spend 10 seconds debating whether I should put clothes on, but end up deciding that Mama would have said if I needed to get dressed unless it's a dire emergency. Shit. Rushing. I put on my flip-flops and grab the shirt Edward wore earlier today from the bench at the end of the bed. As I hurry down the stairs and out to the garage, I shish over my arms into the sleeves and pull it around myself. Mama's already in the driver's seat of her caddy with the engine running. How bad is it? I ask as I shut the door and fasten my seatbelt. Bad, she asks, glancing at me as she backs out. Oh, honey, I didn't realize you thought it was bad news. I'm so sorry to have frightened you. Relaxing against the seat with a heavy sigh, I laugh in relief. It's okay, Mama, but it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Where are we going? The Fillingham's place. Maggie's been staying with her folks the last couple of weeks, she smiles, putting the car in drive and speeding down the long driveway. Joey's making his big move. Blank, underscore, blank. When we get to the Fillingham's, Mama parks in front of the house, right next to Big Daddy. He grins at me as I get out of the car and approach him. Figured you two might show up. The boys were drunker and $7 when I picked them up at Shady's, he says, pulling a plastic toothpick from his mouth. Over his shoulder, I see Jas stretched out on the seat, sound asleep. Jasper didn't make it 4 blocks before he passed out. We dropped Jason off at home, and Joey and Edward went stumbling around to the back of the house a few minutes ago. You haven't seen Maggie yet? Mama asks anxiously. Nope, Big Daddy answers. I expect she'll torture him a little longer. Think this will work? I ask. Hard to say, but after Edward told Joey how well it worked with you, Joey was hell-bent on trying it, he laughs. Well, I'm not going to miss the show, Mama declares, talkin' G off at a brisk pace around the side of the house. We may as well watch, too, Bella, Big Daddy says as he opens his car door and climbs out. Before we get to the backyard, I hear them. Maggie, Maggie, Joey yells. Edward joins in on the second syllable each time. Both of them are looking toward an upstairs window. Neither of them seems to notice that Mama, Big Daddy and I are standing a few feet away. Maggie. Suddenly, the outside light comes on, but it's not a young woman who comes outside and slams the door. It's a very angry older man and his rifle. Joey, what the devil is going on out here? He demands. He cocks the rifle, but cradles it across his chest, not pointing it at anyone. Beside me, Mama chuckles, and I wonder fleetingly if she's got Mr. Fillingham roped into her scheme, too. Mr. Fillingham, Joey says, his words slurred slightly. I need to talk to Maggie. She's in bed. Y'all stop making all this racket and go on home. I can't, sir. I can't. I gotta tell her, he persists. Backing up a step, Joey looks up at the second floor window again and yells. Maggie, Maggie, I don't reckon my daughter is interested in anything you have to say, Mr. Fillingham proclaims. Seeing movement in my peripheral vision, I glance toward the window beside the back door and see someone peering between the blinds. But if you tell me, I'll relay the message in the morning. Joey blinks uncertainly at Mr. Fillingham for a few seconds, then reaches one hand up to grip the back of his neck. Say it, Mama says under her breath. We're too far away for Joey to hear her, but Big Daddy answers softly. Give him a minute, Mary. The boy's getting there. Tell her I love her, Joey finally replies, the words coming out in a quiet gust of air. Speak up, boy, Mr. Fillingham orders. In front of me, Mama has her hands pressed against her mouth and is nodding. I love her, Joey says loudly. I'm in love with her. When I hear the back door open, I too run and see a young woman who I assume is Maggie step outside, closing the door behind her. Joey Whitlock, so help me God, if you're lying, I'll break your legs. She moves to stand beside her father, watching Joey warily. Maggie, he says hoarsely as he walks toward her. I'm not lying, I swear. Why should I give you another chance? He shrugs. You probably shouldn't. Lord knows I don't deserve it, he allows. Stopping in front of her. But I promise I'll treat you right from now on. Mama is sniffling. I'm teary-eyed, and the way Big Daddy just cleared his throat makes me think he's choked up, too. Turning to look at Edward, I see that he's watching Joey with the same drunk grin on his face that he had that night in Key West. The night when he was yelling outside my window. No more ling people that I'm wrapped around your finger. Maggie asks, drawing my attention back to her. No, we're going to go on dates where people might see us. Yes. You won't pretend I'm nothing to you if we see each other in town. Never. You have my word. She takes a step toward him, nodding slightly. Joey pulls her into his arms, bending down to speak quietly to her. Mama and I both sigh. Heil Big Daddy mutters something about Mama always getting what she wants. Mr. Fillingham and his rifle walk toward us, but I step away, heading for Edward. Hi, Stell, he says, still smiling, when I reach him. What are you doing here? Coming to get you. How drunk are you? Not that much, he responds, leaning down to kiss me. You're pretty. Thanks, I say with a laugh. Ready to go, he nods. I need to sit down. Taking his hand, I pull him toward where Mama and Big Daddy are waiting. Mama winks at us at Edward and then gasps as we get closer. Edward Cullen. What has happened to your face? She demands. Get over here in the light where I can see you. I didn't notice anything on Edward's face when I was standing with him in the dim yard, but now that we're under the light, I can see that his left cheek is red and bruising. I hear Joey tell Maggie that he'll call her in the morning as she goes inside, then he turns toward us. Mama is holding Edward's face, turning toward the light and twisting it back and forth, clucking her tongue all the while. Now, Mama, It wasn't his fault. Joey begins when he gets to us. That little asshole Bubba McCoy started all of it. Right, city boy, yeah, Mama HMPHS, releasing Edward's face and walking toward the front of the house. We all follow, as expected. The things he said about me, Jasper, our family. Mama, I just couldn't let it slide, Joey insists. So you got mouthy with him? She guesses. Yep, and Edward did, too, he grins. But city boy's reflexes aren't as quick as mine. He went left when he should have gone right. Mama stops in front of the cars and turns to face us. Bella, you ride home with Big Daddy. I want a private word with these two fools, she declares. Too smart to argue, I nod and head for the passenger side of the Escalade. Holding in my laughter when I hear what Mama says to Edward. I warned you to stay away from Joey. He's a bad influence. Now you've got yourself a black eye for your sister's wedding. I should knock both y'all into next week. Big Daddy and I chat quietly on the drive back. At the ranch, I help get Jas inside and settled on the couch. When we hear Mama's car coming up the drive, Big Daddy tells me where to find Mama's secret salve for getting rid of bruises quickly, suggesting I take it from the kitchen medicine cabinet and go upstairs. Now, since his DVICE where Mama's concerned is generally good, I follow it. While I'm brushing my teeth in our bathroom, I hear Edward come into the bedroom. I walk out and see him lying face down across the bed. He doesn't speak or move as I pull off the borrowed cowboy boots. Roll over, baby, I whisper. He does, but still doesn't say anything, keeping his eyes closed. He cooperates as I take his jeans and socks off. I lean forward to unsnap the front of his shirt, then inhale sharply when I see the bruises across the left side of his body. Does that hurt? Yeah, he breathes. Bubba hits hard. Why did you butt in? He got in Joey's face. Quote, and you got between them. Standing up again, I slide my hands down the front of his legs and wrap them around his ankles. Joey was wasted. Didn't want him to get his ass kicked, he replies. Especially since my girlfriend is his future wife. He doesn't open his eyes, but he lifts his hands to make snotty quotes around the words. Ah, I see he's still not getting a rise out of you. I say sarcastically as his hands drop back to the bed. If you're so irritated with him, why'd you defend him? He mutters the universal three-syllable grunt that means he doesn't know. When a few seconds tick by with no other answer, I clear my throat and tug gently on his ankles. He exhales deeply, probably annoyed that I keep asking questions. You said they're like your brothers, he grumbles. Making me smile. I glide my hands up and down his shins as he continues. Can't have anyone talking like that to my girlfriend's family. Thank you for what you did for Joey. With Maggie. And at the bar. He frowns slightly. Did it for you. Pulling my hands off him, I let his shirt slide from my shoulders and push my pajama pants off. Wearing just my tank top and underwear, I crawl onto the bed. Straddling him and resting my hands on his chest. Ned, I'm not usually in favor of using violence as a solution to problems, but that actually turns me on. Eyes still closed, he raises one hand to lay on my leg. You're gonna have to ramble or something, Stell. I'm hardly awake. Thank you, I say quietly, bending forward to kiss his forehead, the uninjured side of his face, his mouth. Thank you. I trace his bottom lip with my tongue before skimming my lips down his neck. He moans softly, but continues to lie unmoving underneath me. Welcome, he mumbles. Did you know the state flower of Texas is the bluebonnet? And the state animal is the armadillo. Big Daddy told me it's the longhorn. They have a large and small state animal. I laugh against his chest. Jesus, why do I know that? As I kiss my way across his flat stomach, I scrape my fingernails over his nipples and he finally moves, arching his back slightly. I drop my palms to the bed, supporting myself as I gently touch my lips to his bruised ribs. When I look up, he's watching me. Want me to sing the Yellow Rose of Texas? I ask, raising one eyebrow. He huffs out a chuckle, and then winces. Ouch, shit, He hisses. You know the words to the Yellow Rose of Texas. Of course, Ned, I scoff, sitting back on his thighs. Then I quietly sing. There's a yellow rose in Texas that I am going to see. He shakes with laughter and reaches for his side. Stop making me laugh. I can't help it if my ramblings are wildly amusing. I smile as I pull my tank top off. I should probably leave you alone though, you know, since you're sleepy and in pain. It doesn't hurt that bad, he protests. Wrapping his hands around the outside of my thighs, he pulls on me until I scoot forward a bit. But you're hardly awake, I tease. Baby, I think you can tell that's no longer the case, he says roughly. He holds me in place as he pushes his erection against me. You're gonna have to be on top though. Leaning forward again, I sigh against his lips, feeling his hands dig into my hair. That's no problem, Ned. That's no problem for me at all. Blank. The next 3 days pass in a whirlwind as we finish preparations for the wedding. Scott and Jeremy arrive from Key West. Carlisle, Esme, Emmett and Rosalie come from Seattle. We all do whatever Mama asks. And by Saturday night, everything is ready. As planned, the family-only wedding is held inside the house. It's beautiful, and I spend the first part of the ceremony looking at Jas. Other than when he was hungover on Thursday, I don't think he's stopped smiling since we got to Texas. He's so happy and I'm so happy that my best friend finally found his soul mate. And even more elated that I love her, too. Standing beside Alice, I wonder if she'll return the favor for me someday soon. The fear I once felt about making this commitment to Edward has all but disappeared. But even though I've tried to drop some hints over the last couple of weeks, Edward doesn't seem to be getting it. Or maybe he doesn't want to get it. My heart pounds as a new fear races through me. What if he's changed his mind? Panicked, I look over my right shoulder to where he's sitting with Carlisle and Esme in the front row. They're all watching Alice, but Edward glances my way and winks. I smile back at him before we both turn our attention to the ceremony again. Whipping my own selfish worries out of my head, I applaud along with everyone else when Jasper and Alice are pronounced husband and wife. At the reception, attended by almost everyone in Grayson County, I help keep track of Riley and hang out with Rosalie since she really doesn't know anyone else. Late in the evening, I fair to hold Jason and Bree's sleeping baby girl so they can dance together. Standing near the cake table, I sway back and forth slowly and watch them, holding each other close, talking and laughing. Then after years of marriage and 3 kids. That's what I want. All of it. I let my eyes roam the dance floor, landing briefly on some of the other dancing couples. Edward and Alice, Emmett and Rosalie, Jasper and Riley, Joey and Maggie. Big Daddy and Esme. Smiling, I turn my head when Mama comes to stand beside me. My dogs sure are barking. Don't tell anyone you saw me do this, she whispers. She bends down to take her shoes off, and then kicks them under the cake table. I see you've got my littlest angel there. Well, littlest angel for now. I expect Jasper and Alice will add to the family. And you and Edward, too. Once you're married. Oh, Lord, Mama, I sigh. Can we finish one wedding before you start planning another? Sweet pea, idle hands are the devil's plaything. I like to keep mine busy, she says, wiggling her fingers at me. Besides, don't you want to see me happy in my golden years? Now you're trying to make me feel guilty. I laugh. Guilty about what? Edward asks, suddenly appearing behind me. He kisses the side of my head and runs the tips of his fingers across the baby's head. Well, if this isn't a pretty picture. The 2 of you with a baby, Mama exclaims. I feel like I'm looking right into a crystal ball. Mama, I groan, closing my eyes and shaking my head. Oh, hush, she scolds. The way you 2 feel about each other is written all over your faces. I expect to be invited to Seattle for a wedding soon. Mama, please, I beg, feeling my face heat. Edward slides his arm around my waist as he steps up beside me. Or you'd be welcome to have the nuptials here, she continues. Undeterred, she'd have to say yes first, Edward laughs, using the arm he has around my waist to squeeze gently. I feel my mouth drop open and turn to glare at him, but he's too busy sharing a laugh with Mama to notice. I'd have to say yes first. Maybe you should ask first, you arrogant semi-asshole. Trying to curb my irritation, I look around the room, catching Jer's eye from a few feet away. He frowns, then excuses himself from the group he was talking to, motioning for Scott to follow. They both eye me cautiously as they approach. "Baby Swan, care to dance?" Jer asks evenly, standing on the other side of Edward. "Scott will take the baby." "I'd love to," I answer tightly, forcing myself to smile at him. Edward trails his hand along my arm as I pull away to hand off the baby. I take Jer's arm and walk off without a backward glance. As we dance, we talk about the ceremony, the perfect weather, Scott, their hope to adopt a child next year. Then, finally, about me. "You looked like you were ready to give somebody a whooping back there," he says. "What were my mama and your boyfriend cooking up?" "Marriage talk," I complain, where I end up looking like the villain who won't say yes. I relay the whole conversation, speaking quietly as he bends down to me. "But he's never really proposed?" Jer asks, frowning. "No," I grouse. "Jas says he's waiting for some secret signal from me or something." "Well, at least you're not letting it affect your mood," he teases, waiting until I smile reluctantly before he continues. "I think Jasper's right. Edward is letting you lead. Just like he did when he came to Key West. I'm starting to feel like I'm going to have to be the one who proposes," I grumble, trying not to smile when Jer laughs. But he spins us around quickly until I can't help but giggle. When we slow into rhythm again, he kisses my forehead. "Baby Swan, it's all gonna work out. The way that man looks at you, he'll give you anything you want if you just say the word," he soothes. "And, shit, are you two ever gonna make beautiful babies?" "Oh, hell, not you, too. Admit it. You've thought about it," he prods. "Well, not about if they'll be beautiful or not," I confess. "But yeah." He hugs me tightly and I rest my chin on his shoulder. We spend the rest of the song planning trips to each other's cities, knowing that we'll all go our separate ways tomorrow. Realizing that it will be several months before I see him again makes me sad. As the song comes to a close, I watch Edward walk toward us. "May I cut in?" he asks, standing next to us. Jer pulls back to look questioningly at me, then hands me over to Ned once I nod. Sliding one arm around my waist, he pulls me close, holding our joined hands over his heart. "Are you mad at me?" "No," I say, tilting my head back to look at him. "Just don't give Mama any more ammunition. She can't help but push." "I noticed," he chuckles. "But it's up to us. There's no pressure." "I don't feel pressured, Ned. I'm not afraid of." "Good," he interrupts, "because I don't want to change anything." "You don't?" I ask, taken aback. My breath rushes out in a quiet huff. I assumed he was ready to take the next step and was just waiting for me, but I guess I was wrong. "Nope," he confirms, leaning down to kiss me. "I'm happy with our life." "Are you?" "Yeah," I answer as I nod. It's the truth. I am happy. Although I want more with him, I'm willing to wait for him the same way I thought he was waiting for me. I'm happy with our life, too. We're quiet for a moment, both holding tight, until he pulls away to look at me. "How's my face? Is my makeup staying on?" With a laugh, I reach up to trace the faint bruising on his cheek. "Thanks to Mama's salve and my concealer, it's barely visible." "You look great, Slugger." Leaning down, he lowers his voice, speaking quietly in my ear. "Are you still aroused by my defense of your family's honor?" "No, but after Bree told me how many people Bubba has beaten up, I am grateful that you came back in one piece." "Grateful as in you want to write a thank you note to Bubba? Or grateful as in you want to go to our room and have your way with me?" "Neither," I reply. "You could probably persuade me to do one of those things though." "Which one?" he teases, standing up and smirking. "I'll give you a hint, Ned," I say as I start to back up. Pulling him from the dance floor with me. I love you and I hate writing thank you notes. Blank, underscore, blank. 2 weeks later, I sit cross-legged on our bed watching Edward as he finishes packing. The car will be here in 10 minutes to take him and Rosalie to the airport. They're flying to Asia for the worldwide release of the new operating system. I know he has to go. But I'm a little freaked that he'll be gone during the same dates as the ill-fated trip to Europe a year ago when everything started to fall apart for us. As he zips his suitcase closed and lifts it off the bed, I drop my eyes to my lap. Picking idly at my fingernails. Bending down, he rests his palms on my knees, putting his face right in front of mine. Look at me, Stella, he says softly, waiting until I meet his gaze before he continues. This is nothing like last year. Nodding, I swallow loudly before I try to speak. I know, I'm just going to miss you. I'll miss you, too, baby, he replies, pressing his lips to mine. But you'll be busy. You have a big deadline while I'm gone, right? You'll hardly be home anyway. Nice try, Ned, but I don't feel better, I mutter, wrapping my arms around his shoulders. He stands up again, lifting me to kneel on the bed. I'll be back before you know it. Burying his face in my neck, he holds me more tightly and exhales against my skin. And the doorbell rings a couple of minutes later, he kisses me before pulling away. Walk down with me. After I agree, we go downstairs and outside. I lean into the limo to tell Rosalie goodbye, then hug and kiss Edward once more. I manage to smile and wave from the side WLK as they drive away and I make it back inside before I cry. During the 7 days that follow, Edward texts often and calls at least once a day. Always mindful of the time difference and the fact that I really like my sleep. While he's gone, I try to follow our normal routine running on the evenings we usually do, eating dinner out with our friends. Taking Riley for ice cream hoping it will make the time go by quickly. It doesn't really work. The day before he comes home, our bedroom furniture is finally delivered. He new dresser is taller than the old one and has an additional drawer on each side. After I move some of my things from the closet into my extra drawer, I decide to surprise Edward by moving his stack of plain, white t-shirts into his. Chuckling, I remember how hard he tried to trade me more closet space in return for one of my drawers when I moved in. Even though he was grumpy, I didn't give it up. When I pull his pile of shirts from the closet shelf, a small, cardboard box that was concealed underneath falls to the floor. Replacing the shirts, I bend down to pick up the box. It's black, square, fits in the palm of my hand, and the silver script on top of the box reads, Morgan's Fine Jewelry. Blowing out a shaky breath, I let my unsteady legs buckle, sinking to the floor. I take the lid off the box and carefully lift out the smaller, square, velvet box inside. As I hold it in my hand, I'm aware that my heart is pounding, my breathing is shallow and I'm smiling. I'm not scared at all. I set the box down on the floor and pull my knees into my chest, hugging them. This is so stupid, I mumble, raising one hand to swipe at the tears leaking from my eyes. I don't even know if it's what I think it is. Picking the box up again, I turn it over in my hand. What else could be in a box this size? I doubt if it's more earrings. He knows I love the ones he gave me, I rarely take them off. It could be another charm for my bracelet, I guess. Or cufflinks. But why would he hide the box if it's just a pair of cufflinks? He's got several pairs that he keeps in an antique cigar box on the dresser. Logically, whatever's in here must be for me. I giggle to myself, happy that I found it, hoping that I'm right about what's inside. But I feel guilty for snooping, even though my discovery was accidental. So, although I'd like to peek, I force myself to put it back inside the larger box, and replace it beneath the pile of t-shirts. When he calls a couple of hours later, I find it difficult to talk normally to him. Laughing nervously several times, Ned comments on my giddiness, but lets it go when I tell him I'm just glad he'll be home in 26 hours. Besides, That's also true. All day Friday, I count down the hours until his plane will arrive. When there are only 2 hours left, the phone rings. It's Ned. Frowning, I answer warily. Hello. Hi, Stell, Ned begins. No, 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 no. You're supposed to be in the air, I whine. I know, baby. We're stuck in LA. Mechanical problems. We have to fly standby on the late flight, he explains. How late? You were already getting in after 9, I reply. If we get on the flight, I'll be home around 2, he says. Don't wait up. I'll try not to wake you when I come in. Ned, I breathe. Shit, I want you here now. I feel the same, and I'm dying for regular food. I'd love a PB&J. Laughing, I promise to fix him as many sandwiches as he wants tomorrow. After we hang up, I mope around the house, watch TV, take a bath. He texts me to say that they got on the flight, but a little after midnight, I realize I'll never be able to stay awake until he gets home. I make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, cover it with plastic wrap, and leave it on the counter with a note. When I get upstairs, I turn on the bathroom light for him, strip down and get in bed, rolling onto my stomach and falling asleep almost instantly. Later, through a sleepy haze, I hear him whisper my name and feel the sheet being peeled away from my back. Edward. I blink slowly, trying to force my eyes to stay open. Yeah, baby, I didn't want to wake you, he answers. Climbing onto the bed, his lips skim across my shoulder as he crawls over me, putting a hand on each side of my head and wedging one leg in between mine. You weren't sleeping, were you? Nope, I lie, smiling. Chuckling, he uses one hand to move my hair away from my neck. Hi, sweetheart. Thanks for the sandwich, he whispers, kissing the corner of my mouth. God, you smell good, I mumble. I never considered peanut butter an aphrodisiac before. He chuckles against my ear, hitting me with another wave of the sweet scent. Jesus, it's probably not even the peanut butter. You probably have some freaky pheromone never before known to man or woman. It's just you. Maybe that's why I can't keep my hands to myself when you're around. And why I can't stop thinking about you. I kept smelling your shirts last week, the dirty ones in the hamper, Ned. Isn't that gross? I didn't do any of your laundry because I was afraid your stuff wouldn't smell like you anymore. What's the matter with me? Even half asleep, you ramble, he laughs, kissing across my upper back. I missed you so fucking much last week, Stell. Not a week. 9 days, Ned, I correct. No more trips that long. Okay. He agrees. He pulls the sheet completely off me then, but covers me with his body immediately. He lies between my legs, pushing them farther apart and pressing me into the mattress. But I have to say, coming home to you sleeping naked in our new bed is pretty great. Do you like the furniture? Can I get back to you? I'm a little distracted right now, he murmurs, sounding amused as he scoots down, kissing his way down my spine. I answer. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty freaking distracted myself. Missed your spectacular ass, too, he murmurs against my lower back. He dips his fingers between my legs, stroking me gently. Did you miss me? I think we've already established that, I answer breathlessly, trying to move against his hand. Peanut butter breath, stinky clothes. He HMMs as he moves up my body again, pulling his hand away from me. Despite the amount of wiggling I do under him, he takes his time, grazing his lips and fingers across my back. When he nuzzles my neck, I push my hips up toward him, and then gasp when he thrusts against me. I love the weight of him on my back, love the way he continues sliding slowly between my legs, not pushing inside. As he runs his tongue along the shell of my ear, I reach up to grip his hair, panting. When I whimper, he slips his hand between my body and the mattress, moving toward where I want it most. Curling his fingers in, he finds my clit and circles it gently. This isn't really comfortable, but I don't really care. Did you miss me? He repeats, his low voice sending another surge of desire racing through me. Yes, I groan. Hate you gone. But you love this? He asks. Love me? Yes. Oh, God, Ned, I gasp, arching my back as I come, my heart pounding hard and fast. Totally limp, I collapse down onto the bed again. He shifts his arm to my waist, turning me over easily despite my lack of cooperation. He thrusts into me, then holds still and leans down to kiss me. I love you, he says lowly. Looking into my eyes, he wraps one hand and then the other around my wrists, pinning me to the bed. Does this scare you? No, Edward, I whisper. I trust you. Putting his open mouth against mine, he pulls out and slowly slides back in several times, until I push back. He groans my name and speeds up, driving into me again and again. When I come a second time, he follows right after, releasing my wrists and gripping my hands instead. Sweaty and out of breath, we lie tangled together, not moving, not talking. I try to blink away the tears collecting in my eyes before he sees them. This isn't the first time I've been overwhelmed by my feelings for him, but it's the first time I've been completely unafraid of them, unafraid of what I want. Him, always. He mumbles that he's too heavy as he rearranges us soon after, shifting us to our sides. Resting his head against my chest, he wraps an arm around me as I pull my fingers lazily through his hair. Don't leave again, okay? I ask, kissing the top of his head. Baby, you know I have to travel for work. Yes, Ned, I say, annoyed. Rationally, I get that. But I want to pretend for tonight. Can't you just tell me that you won't leave? He scoots up in the bed so that we're face to face. I won't leave, Stella. Smiling, I press my lips to his. Say it like Brando, I plead quietly. Stella, he whispers hoarsely, making us both laugh. Stella, quote. He kisses me several times, but when he pulls away to yawn, I know it won't be long before he's out. I roll over, sighing contentedly as he hauls me back against his chest. Know what I want to do tomorrow? I ask. Sleep, I hope, he mutters. Or at least stay in bed. Definitely sleep, I answer, reaching for the hand he has around my waist. But I was thinking, if you feel up to it, maybe we could walk to the lake in the afternoon, rent a canoe or something. Sure, Stell, whatever you want, he mumbles tiredly. Just let me know. I smile. That's exactly what I'm planning to do. Blank, blank. I let Ned sleep as long as he wants in the morning. He wakes up around noon and talks me into showering with him, which, of course, leads to sex. I fix lunch while he unpacks, and after we eat, he falls asleep again on the couch. By late afternoon, he's up, and he gives in pretty easily when I remind him about what I want to do. We hold hands as we stroll unhurriedly toward the lake. I talk a little about what happened here during the week. He complains some about traveling with Rosalie. After paying for our canoe, we walk onto the dock and take our paddles from the teenaged attendant. I'm steering this time, I state firmly, moving toward the rear seat of the canoe. Of course you are, he answers sardonically. He rolled his eyes behind his sunglasses. You know, it's possible to steer the canoe from the bow as well. I want to sit in the back and I want to steer, I say quietly. The steely tone of my voice makes Ned raise his eyebrows. Fine, he replies snottily. He's smirking, so I know he's just making fun of me. He steps into the front of the canoe, muttering under his breath but loudly enough for me to hear. Freaking bossy woman. He leans over to the dock, steadying the canoe as I climb in and sit in back, leaving the middle seat between us empty. We push away and paddle toward the center of the lake. Neither of us speaking for a few minutes. The lake isn't as crowded as I expected for a sunny summer afternoon, but we still pass several other canoes and paddle boats. The voices of kids playing on the shore carry across the water, and I find myself smiling as I watch them. Ned still hasn't said anything, hasn't even turned to look at me. Pulling my paddle from the water, I the handle end forward to poke him gently. No wonder you like sitting back here. I have a perfect view of your spectacular ass, I tease, putting the paddle back into the water as I chuckle. That's what you're doing back there. He asks. No wonder you're doing such a lousy job of steering us. His shoulders shake with silent laughter. I know he's kidding, but he's kind of right. I'm not doing much back here. When I sat in front, I entertained you with scintillating conversation. Maybe you should concentrate on pleasing the captain, I suggest. All right. Words that make you happy. I'll go first, he says, turning his head to the side so I can hear him even though he lowers his voice. Penetration. I force myself not to laugh, but I'm not surprised at his choice. He tried to convince me to stay home and have sex instead of coming to the lake. Foreplay. I respond. Friction. I can't help but laugh this time. Cunnilingus. I whisper, leaning forward so he can hear me. You know I'm gonna have to say blow job, he replies, twisting around to look at me. That's 2 words, Ned. 2 words that make me happy, he laughs, facing forward again. What do you think it's about us that all of our happy words are sexual? I muse. Not all, he argues. Affection. Communication, I offer, smiling at his back. Compromise, he responds. Commitment. Home, he says, pulling his paddle in from the water and lying back on the seat in between us. I pull my paddle in, too, and then lean forward to upside down kiss him. I press my lips against his several times before sliding my mouth along his jaw. Love, I murmur against his skin. I love you, too, Stell, he replies. Marriage, I whisper in his ear. I wait for him to say something, but after several seconds tick by with no response. I raise up to look at him. He takes his sunglasses off and I do the same. We look intently into each other's eyes, both of us searching, both of us answering. How come you quit asking me? You kept saying no. I didn't want to push too hard, he explains, reaching up to bury one hand in my hair. So I decided to stop until you were ready to give a different answer. My heart races and I feel like I might not ever be able to take another deep breath, but I smile at him. Maybe you should start again. I watch the crooked grin appear on his face and grow wide. I see the flood of emotion in his dark, green eyes as I feel my own fill with tears. Marry me, he asks. Yes. BPOV. Almost 8 years later. Blinding sunlight streams through the living room's large windows. Squinting against the brightness, I skirt around the edge of the couch and go through the French doors onto the deck. My arms strain a little under the weight of the wood tray I'm carrying, and I stop to adjust my grip. It lessens the ache in my shoulders but not the ache in my chest. When my sunglasses fall forward from the top of my head and land crookedly on my face, it doesn't really hurt. But it's one more blow to my pride and patience on a morning when I'm already struggling to hold it together. I feel the lump in my throat bubble up, and tears well in my eyes as I walk across the cool planks of the deck. For a minute, I distract myself by getting settled on one of the lounge chairs, spreading a beach towel over the damp cushion, adjusting the backrest to the angle I like, and straightening my sunglasses. When I finally sit back, I take a deep breath and look around. This deck is among my favorite places in the world, but this morning, the dew-scented air and chirping birds don't make me smile. My eyes aren't drawn to the sunrays dancing on the surface of the lake below. Instead, the thoughts I've suppressed for the last half hour inch into the front of my mind bit by bit, blocking everything else out and bringing unwelcome complicated emotions with them. Shit, I hiss through gritted teeth. Hot tears pool in my eyes again, spilling over this time to run down my cheeks. I've moved past hurt, and now I'm mad. Mad that I let the same person break my heart again. Mad that quiet sobs rack my body. Mad that I can't yell out my frustration without everyone next door hearing me. And I'm especially pissed that I'm awake on a Saturday morning when I could have slept in. Goddamn it. Why? Why did I try? Why did I spend so much time attempting to rebuild a relationship that was irretrievably broken years ago? Even though I told myself I was doing it for other people, deep down I also wanted it for myself. I thought some part of me would be fulfilled, validated. Stupid, I mumble, shaking my head. So goddamned fucking stupid. I cry until the wave of anger subsides. Eventually, my shaky breaths even out again. The wet streaks on my face dry, but nausea continues to roll my stomach. Pushing my sunglasses to the top of my head, I sit up and study the things on the tray beside me, hoping for a remedy. The coffee doesn't sound good and it's cold now anyway, so I take a few sips of the water. Wrinkling my nose at the food, I pick up the cold washcloth instead and wipe my face and neck. It feels good, but it doesn't really help the queasiness. Sighing, I lean back again, laying the folded cloth across my forehead. My eyes scan the meadow across the lake and then are drawn to the left. Despite my dejection, the sight of the green dock jutting into the dark water grips my heart and makes me smile the way it has since the first time I sat in this spot on this deck almost 7 years ago. I close my eyes, tilting my face toward the sky and letting my mind wander. Memories jumble together, and I'm suddenly vividly back in that time. I remember the excited voices of my favorite people and the laughter that echoed from every direction around the lake. I can taste the sweet cinnamon in Mama Whitlock's apple pie and smell the gunpowder drifting through the air as fireworks burst in the night sky. It was one of the best weekends of my life. But it didn't start out that way. I'm surprised by the quick stab of pain that still cuts through my chest when I think about the phone call I received just before that magical weekend. He called that threatened to leave a dark cloud hovering over my happiness. Blank, underscore, blank. 7 years earlier. Stella, shit. It sounds like he's coming up the stairs. Hastily wiping away the tears on my cheeks, I run into the master bathroom and stare at myself in the mirror. I look like hell. He'll know I've been crying. Yanking open the drawer of my vanity, I grab the Visine and squeeze a drop in each eye and then bend over the sink to splash cold water on my face. In here, I answer when he calls for me again, relieved that my voice sounds normal. I turn off the faucet and grab the hand towel, covering my face with it just as he appears in the doorway. Hey, I'm back, but I almost lost an arm picking up my tux at Dad and Esme's, he says, sounding amused. When Esme found out that Dad sent me to the guest room to get it, she practically tackled me in the hallway. I ran into the wall and cut myself on that iron light thing. Sconce. Right, sconce. And Esme beat me to the guest room and slammed the door in my face, he finishes, chuckling. Apparently, there was something in there she didn't want me to see. My wedding dress. That's what she didn't want him to see. At my final fitting last week, Esme and Mrs. Hahn, the seamstress, couldn't agree on the old wives' tale whether the groom shouldn't see the dress or shouldn't see the bride in the dress before the wedding. Since none of us knew for sure, Esme and I took the dress to her house and hung it in the guest room, just to be safe. At the time, we laughed about the silly superstition. But now, the weight of my sadness quashes the humor of Ned's story and dampens my excitement for the upcoming weekend. Saw a different side of my stepmom this afternoon. That's for sure. Although, the tone of his voice is still lighthearted, I hear caution sneaking in. His footsteps are slow as he walks across the tile floor to me, and then he tugs on the edge of the towel. What's going on under there? Knowing I won't be able to hide much longer, I let him pull the towel away but keep my eyes lowered as he moves closer. He lifts his hand to cup my chin, applying gentle pressure to turn my head toward him. I can't look at you right now, I whisper, resisting. Well, that's not something a man wants to hear his fiancée say 5 days before the wedding, he mutters dryly. My heart lurches painfully when I hear his concern, and I suddenly want to comfort him, want him to comfort me. Twisting toward him, I bury my face in his chest, wrapping my arms around his waist. He holds me close, rubbing my back for a moment before breaking the silence. What's wrong, baby? My mom called, I say quietly as new tears gather in my eyes. She decided not to come to the wedding. What? Why not? She gave me some bullshit excuse about not being able to get a good deal on a flight, I respond, pausing to swallow the lump in my throat. And she said that the ceremony is just a formality. Anyway, since we've been living together for over a year. Fuck, Stell, I'm sorry. His arms tighten around me as I inhale unevenly, trying not to completely fall apart. Do you want me to talk to her? We can pay for her airfare. If anything about this situation would make me laugh, it would be the idea of Ned calling Renee. When we visited her in Phoenix several months ago, she was barely civil to him. Even though he used all his semi-asshole charm and impeccable manners on her. I wouldn't subject him to a one-on-one dose of her nasty attitude during the week of our wedding, and she already turned down my offer to cover her travel costs anyway. But I love that he offered to try to change her mind. I don't speak but shake my head as I move my arms to twine around his shoulders. Lifting up on my tiptoes, I press my lips against his warm neck. We stay in place for a couple of minutes, his hands still gently gliding up and down my back, consoling me. I need to start packing, I finally mumble, loosening my hold on him. As my hands skim down his arms, I feel a large bandage covering part of his upper arm. Pulling back slightly, I look at it, puzzled at first. What the sconce? Yeah, he answers with a laugh. Esme felt terrible. She doctored me up like I was a little kid. She's a pretty great stepmom. He hums in agreement as I continue studying the bandage, tracing my finger along the rounded edge. Look at me, Stell. Reluctantly, I tilt my head back and meet his steady, serious gaze. It's not just a formality to me. I know. It's not just a formality to Esme and my dad, or to your dad and Kim. It's not just a formality to Mama Whitlock, Big Daddy, and all those honorary brothers of yours, including the one who calls you his future wife and the one who's your best friend. You're my best friend, I interrupt, frowning at him. You're my best friend, too. He's smiling as he bends down to kiss me, just as I'm ready to deepen the kiss, though, he pulls back. Come on, I'll help you pack. You don't have to do that just to make me feel better. I'm not. I'm doing it because you suck at folding clothes. Pushing him away playfully, I look at him with narrowed eyes. You have faults, too. You know. Lots of them, he replies, hooking an arm around my neck. As we walk into the bedroom, he draws me close, kissing the top of my head. Think you'll like being married to me anyway? Yeah, Ned, I answer, wrapping both arms around him even though it's difficult to walk that way. I think I'll like it just fine. Blank, underscore, blank. What's your point? I ask, punctuating my question with a loud sigh. I should be more patient with the man who'll be my husband in 3 days, but I've been listening to him complain non-stop for the last half hour of the drive. It's irritating. My point is that I don't understand why the mantle still isn't installed. The rest of the goddamned house is finished, he grumbles as we pull to a stop in front of our cabin. The builder promised the house would be inhabitable by this weekend. And it is, I remind him, getting out from my side of the car. Only a week after we got engaged last August. We agreed that we wanted to get married over the following 4th of July weekend at his grandparents' cabin in Roslyn. Ned immediately began lobbying for us to build our own cabin on the property. He didn't have to lobby very hard. I was on board pretty quickly. I insisted it be similar in style to his grandparents' house. He insisted it be built in time for the wedding. We both got our wishes. We spent last weekend moving some of our stuff in, even though the contractor was still installing plumbing fixtures and deck lighting. Everything's done now except the fireplace mantle, which I had something to do with. Ned doesn't know that yet, though. Still muttering under his breath, he pops the trunk open and reaches for our bags, reminding me of something else Ned doesn't know yet. Let's walk through the house first, I suggest, taking his hand. He huffs exaggeratedly but doesn't protest as I hook my pinky around his and pull him toward the front porch. After unlocking the door, he pushes it open to let me walk inside ahead of him. I stop just past the threshold, mouth gaping. The house doesn't look the same as it did when we left 3 days ago. We knew the furniture was delivered yesterday. But what I see is so much more. In the living room, a cream-colored blanket is draped across the back of the dark leather couch. Oversized art books and a vase of colorful wildflowers decorate the square coffee table. Several framed photos of us and the people we love are set around the room. It's a home. Glancing toward the kitchen, my eyes fill with tears when I see the Auntie dishes that belong to Ned's grandmother displayed in the glass front cabinets. A bottle of red wine and 2 long-stemmed glasses sit on the island. The handwriting on the envelope propped against the bottle confirms my suspicion about whose handiwork this is. Looks like Esme beat us here, Ned remarks, squeezing my fingers. I squeeze back, recognizing the pride in his voice. They've grown pretty close during the last year, especially in the 6 months since Carlisle and Esme got married. Despite Edward's claim that he doesn't need a mother at his age, Esme has easily assumed a nurturing role in his life in both of our lives, really. It's absolutely perfect. He agrees and leads me to the kitchen. While he uncorks the wine, I open the note she left and read it to myself. Welcome home, kids. This is what happens when you give an interior design team a key and carte blanche. Enjoy your afternoon, we'll see you for dinner. Bella's room is ready at our house. XOS. What's she talking about? Your room, Ned asks, startling me. I didn't realize he was reading along over my shoulder. Time to reveal the other thing he doesn't know. I'm staying at their cabin until after the wedding. You're not staying here. On the first night we can sleep in our own cabin, you decided to stay with my parents. Basically. Yeah, I nod, daring to look at him while I take the glass he holds toward me. Now he's the one whose mouth is hanging open. He regroups quickly, scowling down at me and crossing his arms over his chest. Was this Esme's idea or Mama Whitlock's? Neither. I insist nervously, rushing to explain. It was mine. All the Whitlock boys and Emmett are staying here, and Jas keeps calling it your 3-day bachelor party. So, 1, I'd be totally out of place, and 2, Mama always says those boys are louder than a pack of hounds on a hunt. There's no chance I'd get any sleep. You know how I feel about my sleep, Ned. Plus I think it would be romantic if the first night we spend together in the cabin is our wedding night. Pausing to take a breath, I feel my face heat under his stare. He doesn't look happy, and I have a surprise about that, too. He raises one eyebrow, which is Saturday. After the reception, everyone else is spending the night at the hotel in Cle Elum. We'll have our cabin and Masson Lake all to ourselves. Just you and me. His face relaxes, lips lifting into a smile. Really? That's a good surprise, baby, he says softly, leaning down to kiss me twice. Any other details about this weekend you've forgotten to mention? Well, I say, drawing the word out for several ticks, there's a good chance Mama will make us line dance at the reception. She says it's a Whitlock tradition. How good a chance, percentage-wise? 100. I don't expect Ned's burst of laughter, and it makes me laugh, too, engulfed in sheer joy for a moment. Careful not to spill my wine, I move in, pressing myself against his body. I'll do it for Mama and for you. He leans back to look at me. Come on, let's look at the rest of the house. Carrying our wine glasses, we walk through the other rooms, pointing out more things we like. More of the details Esme included that fit us perfectly. Once the tour is complete, we head out to the deck overlooking the lake and sit down together on a lounge chair. Resting against Ned's chest, I lace my fingers loosely with his. I love it here. Promise me we'll spend every anniversary at our cabin. I promise, Stell, every year. Glancing down toward the lake, I smile when I see the freshly painted green dock. Esme did that, too. Well, she hired someone to do it. We had our first big fight right down there, remember? I ask. I remember, he answers. I was an asshole, semi-asshole, I correct as I pull his arms around me, snuggling closer. We spend the next hour relaxing, talking intermittently, cherishing our last piece of peace and quiet. Before the shade of the house has completely overtaken the deck, I hear cars coming up the driveway that the cabins share. They're here. Hopping up from the chair, I wait impatiently while Edward stands. Urging him to hurry, I rush due the deck stairs and along the gravel path leading from our cabin to Carlisle and Esme's. We circle around the side of the house, toward the sound of excited voices out front. Mama, Big Daddy, in the rush of crushing hugs and chatter that follows, I lose sight of Edward several times, but I hear him constantly talking to Scott and Jer, laughing with Joey, teasing Mama Whitlock. Esme fawns over Rosalie's brand new engagement ring. And I hold Riley in my arms, even though Alice says she's too big. I love the noisy conversation surrounding us almost as much as I love all these people. Just as Carlisle begins herding everyone into the house for drinks and dinner, one more car pulls up the drive. Look, Aunt Bella, your daddy's here, Riley announces, pointing toward the truck. I'll take her, baby swan. Emmett says quietly from my left side, reaching for Riley. Go see Charlie. I want Aunt Rose, Riley protests, pitching to my right instead. Rosalie catches her, smiling at me. I am, Otha, thank you, at her and then turn around. Ned is waiting for me a few feet away, and we walk hand in hand to my dad's truck. In the last few hours, my gloom about Renee's rejection has dissipated. Somewhat. Seeing my smiling dad seems to trample the last bit of my self-pity. After squeezing Ned's hand, I let go, running the last few steps into my dad's open arms. I'm so glad you're here, I whisper into his shoulder. He swallows loudly, and when he answers, his voice is thick with emotion. I wouldn't be anywhere else. Blank. Well, baby swan, it's your last night as a single woman. Jas declares, dropping into the chair next to mine. What tipped you off, Einstein? I asked cheekily. I haven't been able to contain my elation all evening. I'm practically floating 2 feet above the ground. The big white tent, the catered dinner, or was it the part where we rehearsed the ceremony with the minister? Watch it, smartass, he warns with a grin, or and I will take you to town again tonight. God, no, I groan, remembering the throbbing headache I woke up with this morning. Last night, I went to the Brick for what I thought was a drink with my boys. The rest of the Whitlocks soon joined us, and I ended up staying out way too late and drinking way too much. You're off the hook. It's Edward's turn, Jas whispers conspiratorially. He tourish to the area where Ned is standing with his father and mine. Look at him. Poor guy has no idea what he's in for tonight. Jasper, so help me, if he's not upright for the wedding. Don't worry, we'll go easy on him, he soothes. He gets up, offering a hand to pull me to my feet, too. Gimme some sugar. We kiss each other's cheeks and hug tightly, swaying side to side for a moment. I love you, Jas, I whisper. Misty-eyed. Love you, too, baby swan. I'm really happy for you. I'm happy for me, too, I laugh. I let go of him and press my fingers to the leaky corners of my eyes. Run along, son. I need a few minutes with Bella, Mama says firmly, appearing out of the shadows. Jas and I exchange a look, both recognizing the tone of her voice. She means business. He whispers so, mouthing to her as he bends to kiss her cheek, and then winks at me before he turns to walk toward his brothers. Mama hands me a glass of white wine and links her arm through mine, leading me away from the tent and all the lights. Shish smiles warmly at me. You've hardly had a second to breathe this evening. Did you at least get a piece of my pie? Yes, Mama, I had pie. Knowing she always fishes for compliments about her baking, I try to please her. It was even more delicious than usual. Suck up, she teases, squeezing my arm. Her tone changes when she goes on. Now, then, sweet pea, I have a few things to say. Is this going to be enough wine? I mutter, only half joking. I have a feeling this conversation is going to be at least partly about my mom. I haven't asked Ned, but I figure he must have quietly let everyone know she wasn't coming because no one has mentioned her absence during the 2 days since we all arrived. Your sarcasm does amuse me sometimes, she remarks wryly. Even though I can't see her face. I can tell by her inflection that her lips are pursed. I just wanted a moment alone with you before things get crazy tomorrow. Sorry, Mama, I reply, feeling a little guilty for my wisecrack. But I also take a big gulp of wine. I've remained quiet about the elephant in the room as long as I'm capable. I'm so sorry that your mama's not gonna be here. Having never met Renee, I don't know enough about her to venture a guess at what she's thinking. Well, I have met her, and I can't explain her decision either, I mumble. This is just one of those times in life, when you have to accept that you can't control another person's behavior. I did that a long time ago when it comes to Renee. Or I thought I did. Somehow, this still surprised me, hurt me. Oh, honey, I know how keen the cuts inflicted by family can be. Mamas are supposed to do better, though. When she stops walking, I do, too, and we turn to face each other. But as your honorary mama, I want you to know that I couldn't be prouder of you. I love you just as much as I love those wild boys I raised from birth. And I'm honored that you asked me to be here with you and Edward. Thank you, I reply, my voice breaking. I hug her, soaking up the affection she always gives so unconditionally. You're as welcome as a cool shower on a hot day, she murmurs, squeezing me tightly. We're silent for a beat before she speaks again. I trust I don't need to give you one of those night before the wedding talks. No, ma'am, I insist, smiling and sniffling as we pull back to look at each other. What about Edward? Is he all set? I don't think Edward wants to talk to you about sex. Don't be silly. I wasn't offering to speak to him. Good. I was offering to have William speak to him. I tell you true. That man sure had a knack in the sack back in the day, she declares, chuckling as I chug the rest of my wine. My boys weren't the ones who first called him Big Daddy, you know. Didn't know. Didn't need to know, I answer quietly, closing my eyes. I can't talk to you about this, Mama. Oh, all right. Don't go getting your knickers in a knot, she says, laughing again. I know part of her objective is to distract me from the weight of our earlier conversation, but I'm afraid she's also serious about some of what she just said. Luckily, before I have a chance to think too much about it, she pats my back soundly. Pull yourself together, sweet pea. My boys are headed this way with your groom. Hey, baby swan, we're gonna borrow Edward for a while. Jeremy's voice is cheerful, too cheerful. What are you going to do? I ask, eyeing the group suspiciously as I step away from Mama. Just get a few things straight before you hitch yourself to him for life, Joey offers, grinning at me. He claps his hand on Ned's shoulder. Right, city boy, I don't think I have much choice, Ned gripes, but he's smirking. Sure, you do, Jason adds. You can agree to our conditions right off the bat. Or you can drink whiskey until you do agree. Jasper and I are driving. And not drinking, Scott says to Mama before she can ask. She nods approvingly as he jingles the keys in his hand. Let's roll. Say good night to the ladies, Edward. Night, Mama, he says obediently. Stepping closer to me, he bends down to speak softly. You okay, Stell? I respond, smiling at him. Have fun. Call me if I need to come and save you. I can't. They took my cell phone away. I laugh, and Ned joins in. Then you're on your own. Good luck, I tease. Raising one hand to his neck, I hold him in place and kiss him gently. See you tomorrow night at 6. I'll be waiting at the end of the dock. Before I can kiss him again, Joey and Jer pull him away. Mama and I stand together, watching the rowdy group walk toward the cars parked out front. My eyebrows shoot up in surprise when I see that Carlisle, Big Daddy, and my dad are following them. Goodness gracious, even the old-timers are tagging along. Mama says with a giggle as they pile into 2 cars. You know, sweet pea, I almost feel sorry for Edward. You know, Mama, I laugh as the cars drive away, horns honking obnoxiously. I almost feel sorry for him, too. Blank. Lying in bed a few hours later, I stare at the ceiling, too excited and nervous to sleep. Twisting. My engagement ring idly around my finger. I listen to the music carrying across the surface of Masson Lake and through my open window. The cars came up the driveway a while ago, along with slamming car doors. I heard the boys shouting and then one loud splash. The raucous laughter that followed was so exuberant that I laughed along with them, even though I bet it was my fiancée who was tossed in the lake. I hope Ned is having fun and I hope Joey and Jer aren't getting him too drunk. Eventually the sound outside quiets down, and I close my eyes, finally feeling sleepy. Just as I'm drifting off, something scratches against the side of the house, startling me back to alertness. Alarmed about what kind of critter could be crawling up toward my room, I stare at the window anxiously, heart pounding. Paralyzed, I clutch the quilt and listen to the noise come closer and closer. It's not until I hear a hissed expletive that I realize what, or rather, who is out there. "What the hell are you doing, Ned?" I whisper sternly when I see the silhouette of his unkempt hair pass the edge of the windowsill. In the dim light, I see his face appear, and I have to bite the inside of my cheek not to laugh at him. "If you're climbing up here to call off the wedding, you can just go right back down." "Why would I call off the wedding?" "I don't know. You've been out carousing all night." "Every Avi label girl in Roslyn was probably flirting with you. Maybe you've decided the single life is pretty good," I answer, watching as he pries the loose screen away and knocks it to the floor. "Or Joey might have scared you off. He's a bad influence, you know. Even Mama says so." "He just started pouring tequila in our kitchen," Edward chuckles, boosting himself through the opening. "We've both professed our love for Joey, despite the penchant he has for getting himself and us in trouble when we visit the ranch. Being in love with Maggie has slowed him down some, but Joey will always be Joey." I said I was going to sleep, and then I sneaked over here instead. "Why? I missed you." "I missed you, too," I confess, pulling the covers back in invitation. He grins affectionately at me before replacing the screen on the window. Moving to stand at the side of the bed, he takes off his shoes and shorts and then slides in beside me so we're face to face. Hi. We both smile as our lips meet. I smell alcohol, but it's not as strong as I feared. When I curl my fingers around the nape of his neck, his hair is damp. "Lake. Yeah, Emmett and Jasper threw me in. That was after the 14 fucking lectures I got from all of them, including Carlisle, about what will happen to me if I screw this up," he complains, sounding both grumpy and amused. "For the record, Stell, I'm not stupid enough to do that again." "Me neither." "Good," he grins, pecking my lips. "Talk to me. I've missed hearing you ramble at night. Are you implying that my droning on and on puts you to sleep?" I tease. Pulling my fingers repeatedly through his hair, I tell him about the funny relationship advice I received from Mama and Esme and the sweet conversation I had with Kim about my dad. Although Edward smiles and HMMs at the correct moments, he blinks more and more slowly until his eyes finally stay closed. When he doesn't react to my detailed description of the honeymoon lingerie Rosalie and Alice gave me, I know he's out. I brush my lips lightly against his. "Night, Ned," he grunts in reply, never opening his eyes. Content to be back in his arms after spending 2 nights away from him, I scoot down and to rest my head against his chest and shut my eyes, expecting sleep to come easily. But it doesn't. For what feels like hours, I listen to his deep, even breaths and the steady beat of his heart while I think about him, about tomorrow. About everything we've gone through to reach this day. I don't know how long it really is that I lie wide awake, musing about him. Long enough that my body warms. Long enough that my breaths come faster. Long enough that I don't want to wait anymore. Giving into my desire, I lay my hand flat against his stomach and shift higher in the bed. He doesn't move doesn't react as I slowly kiss my way up his neck. When I fasten my mouth around his chin, scraping my tongue along the stubble, he digs one hand into my hair, groaning. Changing the motion of my mouth, I suck lightly, letting my hand drift down to the front of his boxers at the same time. "What are you doing, Stell?" he mumbles, grabbing my hand before I can grab him. I kiss him once, and then leave my lips almost touching his as I answer, demonstrating my impressive seduction skills. Baby, we can't, he mutters. Not here. That's not what you said when we did it in this same bed last weekend, I quip, lifting one leg over his. Your dad wasn't sleeping across the hall last weekend. He's not sleeping across the hall now, I whisper, pausing to trace my tongue along his lower lip. He's next door. That's worse. We shouldn't, Bella, he protests, but he's finally kissing me, not just kissing me back. I know he's going to give in. We'll be quiet. Letting go of my hand, he moans into my mouth when I slide my hand along the front of his boxer briefs. Stroking him slowly through the material, I feel him grow and harden under my fingers. For a few moments, he pushes himself rhythmically against my hand. And then he nudges my arm out of the way to pull me closer. His lips slow, nipping at mine, teasing me while his hand settles low on my hip. Spectacular ass, he says. My automatic argument that his is better is forgotten when he kisses me passionately once more. Hot bursts of lust and love flow through me, and I hold on tightly, hoping he understands everything I feel for him. When he pulls away, I open my eyes and watch him sit up to take his t-shirt off. His boxers are next, dropping softly to the floor, and I follow suit, sliding my shorts and underwear down until I can kick them away. He moves over me, pushing my tank top up to kiss my stomach, my breasts. Where's my trivia, baby? It takes me a minute because Edward's mouth is very distracting, and his hands is slowly sliding up my inner thigh, but finally, I blurt out some random knowledge. Even after thousands of years of studying eels, no one really knows how they mate and reproduce. A good 5 seconds tick by before he stops what he's doing and raises his head. Frowning, he looks like he doesn't believe me. Wait, really? Swear to God, they, don't have reproductive organs. So no one knows for sure where the babies come from. There are just a bunch of theories about floating eggs and clouds of sperm. That's actually kind of disgusting, Stell. Sorry, I reply, knowing he's right and hoping I didn't kill the mood. But I have wedding-relevant trivia, too. Hit me. The average married couple has sex 68.5 times per year. He laughs silently, resting his forehead against my chest. Are we going to keep track? Because challenge accepted. I think we'll easily be above average in this department. No doubt, I agree as his mouth covers my breast again. He pushes my tank top up farther. And I yank it off, flinging it across the room. Crying out softly, I roll my lips together when he slides 2 fingers inside me, stroking slowly. The rapid rush of arousal spikes again, flooding my veins. As good as this feels, I want more, want him inside me. I lift my hips, weave my fingers through his hair, and he knows my body well enough to read those signals. But instead of giving me what I want, he pulls his hand away and pushes himself up on both arms, looking down at me. Hold on. How can you have 0.5 sex? Panting and frustrated, I let my gaze slide to the left, pretending to ponder his basic and inconveniently timed math question for a moment. With my heart still racing, I shift my eyes back to his. Well, maybe if one person falls as leap before the other person is finished. Patting his cheek patronizingly, I roll my lips together again, this time to keep from laughing. Ned is also fighting to keep a straight face. Well, maybe he first person had jet lag from flying for 22 hours straight to get home to the second person. Sounds like he's dedicated. So, he honestly should have been more determined to get her off, I retort. Squealing when he grabs me around the waist and rolls us. He shushes me with a laugh, and I clap a hand over my mouth to quiet the giggles as I settle over him. We study each other for a minute, the mood turning more serious. I love you, he whispers, pulling at my arm until I lean down to kiss him. And I promise to stay awake tonight if you do. Challenge accepted. I lift my hips, and we both sigh when he pushes deep inside me. His hands move across my back, grip my ass, as we rock our bodies together. I keep kissing him until the intensity is too much, then I bury my face in the crook of his neck, moaning softly as pleasure finds me. It's another hour before we finally give into sleep, still clinging to each other. Blank. A quiet knock at the door wakes me. The sun is already up, shining insistently through the sheer curtains over the windows as I untangle myself from Ned. Just a sec, I call. Scooting off the bed, I grab his t-shirt from the floor and pull it over my head. Before I reach the door, I hear his fingernails scratching across his stomach, and I turn to smile at him over my shoulder, holding one finger to my lips. I open the door a crack, grateful that it opens away from the bed. "Mornin', sweet pea," Mama says, smiling sweetly. "It's past 9 o'clock on your big day. Time to get moving. Here, I brought you a cup of coffee." "Thanks, Mama," I yawn, accepting the steaming mug. "You're welcome," she smiles, patting my arm. "Now, give Edward's shirt back to him, so he can skedaddle. We have things to do without him underfoot. And tell him to use the stairs instead of that ramshackle ladder that's leaning against the side of the house. We don't want a groom with a broken leg." "Yes, ma'am," he calls out, laughing as I groan. My face feels like it's on fire as I close the door and turn to face him. "Oh, my God, everyone will know you were here all night. I'm so embarrassed." Ned rolls out of bed and pulls on his boxers and shorts. I take his shirt off, wrapping a robe around myself. "We live together, Stell. I think they've figured out that we sleep in the same bed." "But still," I whine, tossing his RT at him as he walks toward me with a grin. "Don't make fun of me. Do you want me to go downstairs and tell everyone that I slept on the floor, and we kept all our clothes on?" "Yes." We both smile as he leans down to kiss me. When I hear a crinkling noise, I break away and look down. Edward is pulling a balled-up plastic supermarket sack from his pocket, which he hands to me. "What's this?" "Just a little something I picked up for you." He takes the coffee mug from my hands and lifts it to his mouth, trying to hide his smirk. I narrow my eyes at him as I unwind the wrapping, but I can't stop the flood of giggles when I see the little pink bottle inside the sack. "You brought me Pepto. I figure you might get nervous before the wedding. I want to make sure you show up." "Oh, I'll be there, Ned, without Pepto." I assure him, tossing my gift toward the bed. I link my arms around his neck and pull him close. "I'll be the one in the long, white dress. I'll see you there, Stella." "Say it like Brando. Stella, Stella," he murmurs, kissing me softly. I push him into the hallway a minute later, not realizing until I shut the door that the semi-asshole stole my coffee. Walking toward the closet, I smile and shake my head when I hear an eruption of laughter from downstairs, wondering what Ned said to them. I unzip the black garment bag hanging from the top of the closet door and spread it open, revealing the long, white dress I told him I'd be wearing. As I run my hand along the lacy fabric, tiny, crazy butterflies flit around my stomach. Maybe I'll need that Pepto after all. Blank. The day passes in a blur of makeup and nail polish and hair pins. Before I know it, I'm hanging onto my dad's arm as we walk down the gravel path to the dock. Even though we kept the guest list small, it feels like there are 1,000 eyes watching me. My gaze lands on several faces I know from Hale Software and from McCarty and Whitlock. I smile widely at Ang and Ben, and then at Peter and Charlotte. But once my eyes meet Edward's, I don't look around anymore. I drink in the sight of him, standing in the golden evening light. Why? Ting at the end of the green dock for me. Just like the first time I met him, I will my eyes to memorize this moment, wanting to always remember the vision of him. The rush of emotion I feel is over, elming as I kiss my dad and move to stand with Ned in front of the minister. The ceremony seems to happen in slow motion, yet it's over in the blink of an eye. We exchange vows and rings. We kiss to seal the promises made and whisper words meant only for each other as our guests applaud. After posing for way too many pictures, we head to the resort in Cle Elum for the reception. I barely let my N.W. husband out of arm's reach while we drink and dance with our family and friends. Although I think he's having a great time, he looks at me with a raised eyebrow as the clock ticks past 11 o'clock. It's a look I know well. I get it at every party we attend when he's ready to go. Tonight, I'm ready, too. Nodding at him, I take his hand, leading him to our families to say goodbye. Neither of us wants a big send-off. So once we're finished, we quietly slip out of the hotel and into the resort's limo. The drive to the cabin is quick, and as Ned unlocks the front door, I put my hand over his. "Wait, you have to close your eyes before you go in," I order. "I was going to carry you inside. We've already shunned most of the wedding superstitions, Ned. What's one more?" I laugh. I pull the key from the lock and wrap my fingers around his palm, pushing the door open with my other hand. "Close 'em. Watch your step." "How am I supposed to watch my step with my eyes shut?" He grumbles, but he comes along willingly, letting me lead him to the living room. I stop him behind the couch, facing the fireplace, but far enough away that he can see the entire mantel with one glance. Knowing how much he loves the personalized, intricately carved mantel at his grandparents' cabin, I was surprised when he didn't include a similar one in the plans for this cabin. A few months ago, I called our contractor and he helped me find someone to design and craft one. Cullen is carved across the front of the wood, and our wedding date is cut into one side. We won't discuss how much it cost or how much it cost to have it installed on a Saturday night while we were at the reception. "Okay, open them," I whisper. "Surprise. Bella," he breathes. He studies the mantel while I study him, happy that he looks pleased, emotional. Squeezing my fingers, he lifts our hands to his mouth, kissing the back of mine. "Jesus, it's gorgeous. I'm glad you like it," I answer quietly, following as he pulls me around the couch to get a closer look. "I love it," he corrects, tracing along the smooth, dark wood. I feel bad for yelling at the contractor about it, though. "He understood," I say with a laugh. "But you were kind of an asshole to him last weekend." "Semi-asshole," he argues, turning to smile at me. "Semi-asshole," I agree with a nod. "Thank you," he murmurs, leaning down to kiss me, then looking into my eyes. "You're stunning, Stell. Right back atcha, Ned." Winding my arms around his neck, I pull him down to kiss me. Just before our lips meet, I hear the first pop and sizzle of fireworks outside. We head out to the deck to watch, arms wrapped around each other. I watch the colors explode in the sky, reflected on the lake below. It's midnight. The neighbors will hate us. Nah. Have been warned and bribed with whiskey and Mama Whitlock's apple pie. Grinning, I tilt my head up at him. "You think of everything." "Not tonight, Stell. Tonight, I'm only thinking of you." When he kisses me then, I press myself against him. Fireworks still burst overhead, but I'm not tempted to look. Not even once. And when Edward picks me up a few minutes later to carry me over the back threshold of our cabin, I whisper that I love him and that today was perfect. Blank. Lost in my sweet reminiscence, I'm startled by the noisy voices coming from the path below. My alone time is coming to an end, but instead of mourning that, I turn my head in the direction of the voices, looking for them. But they're on the part of the trail that winds through leafy trees that obscure my view. Sitting up straighter, I pull the washcloth from my forehead and set it aside. I push my sunglasses up to the top of my head, then I close my eyes again. I love listening to them. "Daddy, Pops says I gets to help in the garden today." "That's great, Caroline. Maybe Max can help, too." "No, not Max. Max is still a baby," she insists defiantly. "Just me and Eli and we'll gets to help Pops and Riley." "Max is a big boy. Aren't you, Max?" Ned asks. I chuckle to myself when Max jabbers in reply. I pick out a couple of words, but at 17 months, most of his speech is still unrecognizable. "Slow down, Caroline. Mommy's on the deck." I see her legs, Caroline calls excitedly as she runs up the deck stairs. Mommy, Mommy, I bringed you pancakes. The thought of food turns my stomach. But I smile at her as she runs to me. Thanking her, I take the paper plate she shoves at me, grateful it's covered with foil so I don't have to look at the food. I'll get you syrup, she offers, running away before I can stop her. Her long nightgown flaps around her legs above her sandals. And I gots to get dressed 'cause Uncle Jas is letting Riley take me and Will and Eli in the canoe. The French door behind me opens and slams shut as I set the paper plate on the little table next to me. She's always excited to be included in the older cousin's plans. Although Riley loves spending time with her little brothers and Caroline now, we're on borrowed time. She's a teenager, and the day isn't too far off when she'll prefer to stay in Seattle with friends rather than spend the weekend here with her family. Hearing more footsteps on the stairs, I glance that way just as Max appears, riding on Ned's shoulders. He waves his arms excitedly when he sees me, and Ned lifts him down, setting him on the deck. While Ned slides the stair gate closed and latches it, Max toddles to me on chubby legs. Reaching my chair, he pats my knee and lays his head against it for a beat. Whispering good morning to him, I manage to stroke my fingers along the smooth skin of his hand before he breaks away, heading to the far end of the deck where his toys are. Morning, Stell. I was hoping you'd sleep in if I took the kids to Dad and Esme's for breakfast, Ned says, sitting sideways on the lounge chair next to mine. I couldn't sleep. You feeling okay? He asks, frowning. Leaning toward me, he props his elbows on his knees. You look pale today, Ned. I'm pale every day, I argue. I can't see his eyes behind the dark lenses of his sunglasses, but his lips curve upward, pink among Saint the dark stubble of his unshaven face. Watching his head turn just the slightest bit, I realize what he's about to realize and reach for him, resting my hand on his forearm. Bella, his whispered word lets me know that he's examined the contents of the tray on the table between us. The large glass of water is half empty while the coffee mug filled with decaf is full. The folded washcloth it's next to an unopened sleeve of saltine crackers and a plate of dry toast. The plate of Esme's pancakes, my favorite breakfast with or without syrup, is still covered. Anything you want to tell me? I was going to wait until our anniversary tomorrow, I answer, swallowing the lump in my throat. But the morning sickness arrived a little earlier than expected. Baby, he says hoarsely, shifting to sit on my chair beside my legs. He pulls his sunglasses off and tosses them toward the other chair as he leans in. Both of us are teary-eyed as our lips meet, and then he pulls away, bending down to press a kiss on my stomach. And baby, sniffling, I rest my hand on his head until he sits up again, grinning at me. We're gonna be outnumbered now, you know. For the rest of our lives, it'll be them against us. I think we have a few years before that battle begins, I reply with a laugh. Here's the syrup, Mommy, Caroline announces, dashing back onto the deck. Thankfully, she doesn't bring a fork, so I don't have to pretend I'm going to eat the pancakes. Edward takes the bottle from her, and she disappears inside once more. Will it make you sicker to move so I can sit with you? He asks quietly. Shaking my head, I scoot forward, glancing toward Max to make sure he's still occupied. Edward settles behind me, and then I lean back against his chest. When did you find out? A few days ago, I answer, linking my fingers with his. I wanted to surprise you. You did. I was going to take you down to the dock tomorrow. Or maybe out in the canoe. You think it happened then? The weekend we were here alone. I smile, remembering. Esme and Carlisle offered to keep the kids the weekend before Edward's birthday so we could get away, and we eagerly took them up on it. We spent 3.5 days alone at the cabin, talking, laughing, and sleeping. Since we weren't preoccupied by listening for Max crying or Caroline trying to get into our bedroom, we also relived our former, child-free life in bed. On the dock, in the canoe. Although we missed the kids, the luxury of being lost in only each other for a couple of days was pure bliss. Are we telling our families this weekend? He asks. I think we'd better. You'll never be able to keep your mouth shut, I tease, loving the chuckle that rumbles through his chest. Well, it would be convenient since my parents are here. And your dad and Kim are on their way, he reasons. Then we can call Mama and Big Daddy. And Renee, too, unless you're going to wait until you go to Phoenix next week to tell her. The trip to Phoenix is cancelled, I say, breathing through the sudden rush of heartbreak that pushes my voice up an octave. Renee called early this morning to say that it's not really a good time for the kids and me to visit her. Stell. Although his voice is hushed, I can hear the barely controlled anger in his tone. Stop. It's no big surprise, I interject. That's true, I'm not surprised any more by the new ways she finds to reject me. As the grief courses through me, I allow myself a moment to mourn the relationship I wanted but never had, vowing this will truly be the last time I let her affect me like this. Renee's been pulling this same shit for years. It just pisses me off that she's doing it to the kids, too. It's her loss, Bella, he says, resting his head lightly against mine. We have so many other people who love us and our kids. I know. Caroline races onto the deck again, slamming the door behind her again. I can practically feel Ned cringing behind me as the glass in the door rattles. She grabs her life jacket from the railing and opens the stair gate, much faster than either of us adults can ever manage. She hustles down the stairs and runs along the path to meet Riley and the boys. Squealing the whole way. Christ, Ned mumbles behind me. I love that kid more than my own life, but it's pretty early in the day for that pitch of shrill. My ears are ringing, too. I can't help but smile at her happiness, though, and at her bouncing brown curls. She's the same age that Riley was when I met you. He grunts out a quiet chuckle, tightening his grip on my hands. How about that? Full circle. We've come a long way since that first night we met. You mean when you yelled another man's name in the heat of the moment? Stop making me laugh, I complain, wrapping my arms across my still churning stomach. I meant that we've really built a life together. And I love it. He kisses the side of my head. Me too, baby. Want me to get you some tea or ginger ale? No, Ned, I answer, closing my eyes and leaning my head back against his shoulder. He grabs the washcloth and wipes it gently across my face. I'm happy and relaxed, listening to Max play. To the older kids' voices drifting up from the lake below. I wish I could bottle these moments, these precious days with all of them. But I'm satisfied with stealing these little bits of perfection whenever we can. I want to sit here with you, just for a few more minutes. And that's what we do. Finally, the end. Thanks for watching.